Under the drizzling night sky, a castle faintly appeared. Inside the castle were many people. The crowd looked towards the two blonde girls and whispered, "I heard they died in an accident, right?" Some say it was not an accident at all, but anyway. All eyes were on the two little girls. Now they are the only children left of the Akrux family. The two girls, with heavy eyes, stood there bearing everyone's words. At this moment, the short-haired girl could not hold back her tears. "Father, mother." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Why did you leave us behind?" Her hand gently touched the coffin beside her. "Mother, answer me." As soon as she touched the coffin, her body suddenly stiffened. Seeing her fall forward, her older sister anxiously called her name, Helena. Helena lay unconscious on her mother's coffin, ignoring her sister's calls. At this moment, she realized she had been reborn into a novel at the age of 9, at her parents' funeral. In the novel The Tyrant's Birdcage, the male lead is Prince Jackal. The novel, like its name, features the male lead kidnapping and imprisoning the female lead, Duchess Callisto, before she becomes a duchess. The story tells of Callisto being held captive in a cage, enduring Jackal's obsessive behavior. She eventually escapes successfully, but this only makes Jackal more cruel, pushing the world to the brink of destruction. In the end, Callisto returns as a saintess and softens Jackal's heart, saving the world. The little girl Helena woke up at this time, but she was no longer just a 9-year-old girl, but someone else reborn. "This is crazy, I am Helena." Seeing her wake up, Callisto hurriedly asked, "Helena, what is wrong? Answer me, Helena." Because she was so surprised, the little girl could not quite adjust. She thought to herself, "I am Helena, Callisto's younger sister." Tears continued to fall, but not for her parents. It was because she was a villainous character who, out of jealousy, pushed her sister into Jackal's hands. Callisto's voice startled her. Callisto hugged Helena tightly, comforting her. "It is okay, Helena." Callisto gently said, "I will protect you in place of Mom and Dad." "I told you it is okay, did not I, my little sister?" Standing in Callisto's loving embrace, Helena could not hold back her tears even more. Then Helena wrapped her arms around her sister and replied, "Yes, sister." The girl reborn into Helena's body decided to change some things. "From now on, I will only have one goal. No matter what happens, I will protect my sister from Jackal." Helena glanced at the approaching crowd and reassured Callisto's sister, "I am really okay." The crowd approached the two girls and said, "Oh, Helena, Callisto, we were so surprised. We were worried about you two handling everything on your own. Would you like us to represent you?" Helena did not answer immediately. She thought to herself, if it were me before, I might have been tempted by their sweet words, because I did not realize they were taking advantage of me. But now it is different. Helena cursed inwardly, "You bastards." Immediately afterward, she shouted with all her might, "Get out of here." Her words immediately stunned the crowd. Everyone's eyes widened in shock. Helena glared angrily at the crowd. They would not be able to trick her anymore. But the greedy hands of those relatives kept reaching for her. Helena pulled her sister away from the crowd. The next day, when the sky was clear, Helena and her sister Callisto went for a walk. They met a man who approached them and called out, "Callisto, Helena." The disheveled man, sweating profusely, came forward and asked, "Am I late? I am sorry." The man was the girl's uncle. He appeared like a miracle, truly caring for her sister and Helena. Thanks to him, the two found stability in their lives again. But of course the problem was not solved, so Helena had to go through days so busy she could not breathe. But every time she thought of her sister, that fatigue quickly disappeared. Helena sat at her desk for hours until her nose bled, but she did not stop. As Helena diligently wrote, she thought, "I need to strengthen the family even more so that Jackal can't act arbitrarily. First, I need to solve the tax evasion problem." No matter how hard she tried, she did not know how her sister saw her. Helena was so busy that she became ill. Her body was burning hot, and she was taken care of by her sister Callisto. Callisto stroked Helena's hair and said, "Helena, my kind little sister." Tears unconsciously fell from the girl's eyes. Callisto stroked Helena's head and gently said, "You are so young, yet you are trying so hard. But why can't I help you at all?" Helena woke up at this moment. She opened one eye and blankly looked at her sister Callisto. Seeing Helena wake up, Callisto quickly said, "I am sorry, Helena, I woke you up." After participating in the management and administration of the duchy's territory, Helena became a target of enemies due to her inherently weaker constitution than her sister. Being cared for by her sister Callisto, Helena happily laughed and said, "Hee hee, your hand is so cool." Callisto also happily replied, "Yes, Helena, I love you so much. I will do anything for you." Time passed. Before she knew it, Helena had grown up. She hurriedly pushed open the door and ran in. "It is a big problem, Rodmine." Her face darkened. Helena said, "Sister has run away again." This girl was Helena Acrux, 20 years old, a candidate for the position of head of the Acrux family, Callisto's younger sister. And this young man was Rodmine, Helena's aide. Hearing Helena say that, he could not help but worry. The person who is about to inherit the family has run away. Is she really going to give up the position of head of the family? Helena trembled as she recounted. She declared that she would not marry and would become a knight worshipping the gods, so it must be. She went towards the sunset. Rodmine continued, "She has been practicing day and night, so this is inevitable." Helena sighed and said, "I should have stopped her from practicing so much." Hearing her say that, Rodmine did not say anything more. He just quietly looked at her. Helena tiredly walked to a chair. She pondered, her running away like this is perhaps a good thing. The reason is, when Helena had settled into the chair, Rodmine came over with a stack of documents and said, "But Duchess, if that is the case, then there is a big problem." He pulled out a piece of paper from it. At this time, a summons is expected to be sent. The Duke of Acrux is to assist the Crown Prince for 1 year. This is correspondence from the Crown Prince. Hearing this, Helena realized that is right. Perhaps the safest way is to separate my sister from Jackal. Helena had not anticipated that the future would turn out like this, but taking advantage of this opportunity, Helena would also make things clearer. She was determined not to let him see a single strand of Callisto's hair. At this time, Rodmine asked again, "What will you do, Duchess?" Helena sat up straight again and replied, "There is no other way. I can only become the Duke of Acrux in her place." As she finished speaking, a jumble of thoughts ran through Helena's head. The person she had to face was Prince Jackal. Although he had an extremely outstanding appearance, his personality was the complete opposite. Helena wondered, should I go meet the face of the guy who is going to bother my sister? 1 week later, on a beautiful sunny day, Helena decided to meet Prince Jackal. In a solemn red outfit, Helena slowly walked. Although she looked very composed and calm, she was extremely exhausted inside. "I have not been able to sleep a wink." The person she needed to meet today was the male lead, Jackal Anthos. Jackal was born as a legitimate crown prince, but for some reason, he was hated by the emperor. The emperor repeatedly ordered Jackal to participate in life-threatening challenges. This forged a crown prince Jackal with a tough exterior. And Jackal, wanting to survive, became obsessed with power. He would use any means to break the chains blocking his path. The butler led Helena to Prince Jackal's room. "We have arrived, Duchess." He pointed inside the room and said, "The crown prince is inside." Helena was a bit hesitant towards this person. This was the crown prince who imprisoned her sister in the original story. This was a romance novel, but not because he fell in love with her at first sight, but because of the treasure. The treasure that the 12 families in the empire possessed, called the Constellation Treasure, and each treasure possessed a unique ability. And Helena's family's treasure was Acrux. To seize the treasure, the first bait he offered was marriage. If he did not get his way, he would imprison her sister Callisto. Perhaps this development would not change. Helena tried to hold her hand tightly to calm herself. "It is okay. I have thought of all the countermeasures." Helena closed her eyes, then she opened them again. Her eyes carried 10 parts determination. After Helena prepared herself, the butler informed the crown prince, "Your Highness, the Duchess of Acrux has arrived." Helena slowly entered the room, where Crown Prince Jackal was waiting. As soon as Helena entered, Jackal turned around and looked at her with an emotionless gaze. Helena cautiously bowed her head. The 7 stars from the Southern Cross constellation Acrux greet the great descendant of the sun, Canopus. Hearing this, Prince Jackal spoke up. "It seems you do not remember." Helena questioned, raising her head to look at Jackal. But then the crown prince immediately changed his demeanor. He smiled warmly and said, "It is nothing, come in, the new Duke of Acrux. It must have been tiring for you to come such a long way. But I thought your sister would come. But the heir to the title." As soon as Helena heard that, her expression became a bit worried. The crown prince directly asked, "I am sure you know how to use the Acrux treasure, right?" This completely matched Helena's thoughts. She replied, "Yes, I know how to use it." Knowing this, the crown prince moved closer to Helena. He bluntly expressed, "I know you will be very surprised to hear this. But I have fallen in love with you at first sight. Please marry me." Helena could not answer immediately. She paused for a few seconds. She thought to herself, even though I knew it was coming, it is still surprising. Proposing right after talking about the treasure. Isn't it too obvious? Even so, Helena kept her composure and asked, "What will you give me?" Being questioned back by Helena, Prince Jackal was a bit surprised. Helena was still firm with her question. "Let me say it again, what will you do for me?" Helena smirked. "Surely your highness could not have fallen in love with me at first sight, so perhaps you want something from me. That is why I say, if you really have fallen in love with me, then a contract marriage is better. It is a relationship that benefits both sides, and we can also do the things we want." Prince Jackal was a bit surprised to hear these words from Helena's mouth. After speaking, Helena flashed a confident smile. Yes, this is her plan. Using that proposal and attacking back, pretending to give him what he wanted, and preventing her sister from being imprisoned. After making him negligent in doing useful things, she would buy time and escape safely. To divert his attention from the treasure, she needed something else that would interest him more. But there was no need to worry about that. With Helena's administrative management skills, this deal would definitely save the collapsing territory. In her previous life, she was a 5-star civil servant. In the South Korean civil service system, civil service ranks are divided from level 1 to level 9, with level 1 being the highest. So clearly, this proposal was not bad for him. After a moment of thought, Prince Jackal suddenly exclaimed, "Oh." Helena curiously looked at him. Prince Jackal, contrary to his appearance, acted pitifully and said, "A contract marriage? How can you say such harsh words? This relationship is destined for separation. And I do not like that." Helena had not thought of this situation. She stammered, if it is about that, then we can extend it." Prince Jackal shook his head. "Well, what I want is a permanent relationship with you. Not a contract. Will you marry me forever?" Prince Jackal stepped forward and wrapped his arm around Helena's waist. The Crown Prince's trick was truly insidious. Helena's face darkened. She cursed inwardly. This guy is definitely not a normal crazy person. But these tricks were nothing to her. She immediately pushed the Crown Prince's hand away and bluntly replied, "I refuse." Prince Jackal still did not intend to stop. He continued, "But this won't cause you any harm." Helena angrily said, "I am sorry, but I do not like your face very much." The Crown Prince still would not let her go. "Don't say such unreasonable things. Tell me the truth." Out of options, Helena had to resort to criticizing his appearance. I calmly said, "I do not dare to say it because it will bother the Crown Prince," but the Crown Prince would not let her stop. He still wanted her to say it. Helena did not mince words. She bluntly said, "I do not like anything about you from head to toe." Hearing this, the Crown Prince was stunned. Helena added, "I think that answer is clear enough." Helena bowed to the Crown Prince again and said, "According to regulations, I have been appointed as your aide for 1 year, so I will do my best to fulfill this duty. I will take my leave." After speaking, she turned to leave, but the Crown Prince followed her. Prince Jackal called her to stop. Immediately afterward, the Crown Prince stepped forward and blocked the door, saying, "I have instructed the servants to arrange the place where you will stay, but now I have changed my mind. I will arrange a place closest to me." The Crown Prince wanted to use sweet words to move Helena's heart. Prince Jackal smiled and said, "Thank you for answering so honestly. This is a matter of preference. I will learn more about your preferences even more." Hearing these words from the Crown Prince, Helena could only force a smile to get through it. Then she said, "Then please rest, your highness." After speaking, Helena quickly left the room, leaving the Crown Prince alone. Prince Jackal clenched his hand tightly. Then he said to himself, as expected, "I can't let go." A while later, at the Crown Prince's aid office. As soon as Helena returned to the room, she shouted. She angrily threw things. Rodmine immediately appeared outside the door and said, "I will call the doctor right now." The Duchess's madness disease. The more Helena heard, the more annoyed she became. She shouted loudly, "Don't mention the word madness in front of me." Rodmine entered the room and asked, "It is a good thing you are not mad. So what exactly happened that made you like this?" Helena sighed and replied as expected, "I received a proposal from the Crown Prince." Rodmine was indeed an all-around aide. He had prepared everything in advance. Hearing Helena say that, he immediately took out a budget plan. But Rodmine was immediately cut off by Helena. "You won't be fired, I am sorry." Looking at Helena slumped on the table, Rodmine said again, "But you predicted it, so why are you reacting like this? Did things not go according to plan?" Helena replied. "That is right." He rejected the contract marriage because he thought the ending was already decided. Rodmine only replied with 3 words, "I see." He was reprimanded by Helena again. "You want to go outside to keep his job?" Rodmine quickly corrected himself. "No, this is a big deal." The deal has been cancelled, so it is like what the Duchess said before. Helena rubbed her head and replied, that is right. He is still targeting the treasure. The Acrux treasure is a powerful weapon that can change depending on the situation. The power of this treasure depends on the user's talent. So in Callisto's hands, it would turn into a sword. Strangely enough, the Crown Prince did not covet such a treasure. The problem was that this was a fatal flaw because Helena could not use the treasure. When she left, her sister made sure that Acrux had recognized her as the heir. But contrary to that, Helena could not use the treasure, so she was only half an heir. If Jackal found out about this, then he would shift his attention to her sister. No matter how hard Helena tried, she wondered if she could use the treasure. The more Helena thought, the angrier she became. She angrily squeezed the pillow in her hand. Helena angrily tore the pillow apart and said, because I am so useless, what weapon would be suitable for me? Rodmine quickly spoke up, I will prepare a wedding dress for you. Unlike Rodmine's innocence, Helena was very troubled by this problem. She wondered, what should I do now? But then Helena came up with a way. She sat solemnly on the chair that had been cleaned of the feathers and said, the Crown Prince does not know what the treasure looks like. Even if it is the royal family, they can't grasp all the treasures. In particular, Acrux is a reclusive family compared to their influence. So very few people know about the seventh treasure of this family. Only when the previous Duke of Acrux defeated the magic dragon did they know that the power possessed by the Acrux family was holy power. Helena fell into deep thought again. She quietly thought. In the original story, her sister Callisto thought it was not a big secret, so she revealed it, but Helena did not think so. At this time, Helena suddenly called Rodmine and asked, I should not run back to the Duke's residence right now, should I? Rodmine immediately replied, this is enough to be executed for disobedience, maybe even treason. However, what Rodmine said next was the opposite, but the Duke will definitely not do anything to harm the Acrux family. This was quite right. Helena agreed with Rodmine. She smiled relievedly. Her sister Callisto would return to the Duke's residence, so Helena had an obligation to protect the Duke's residence. After a moment of contemplation, Helena stretched and said, all right, let us find a solution. She ordered, quickly find me all the cases of the heads of the constellation families in history who have returned to the territory in less than 1 year. Rodmine was not an ordinary aide. He could predict everything. Waiting for Helena to order, he immediately gave her the information. I knew about this in advance, so I have already found it. The time that the constellation families must serve the Crown Prince is 1 year. Helena took the documents and carefully read them. Although serving the Crown Prince for 1 year was mandatory, not every family completed the full 1 year. Therefore, Helena made a decision. She had to return quickly before the secret was discovered. Helena flipped through the pages of the document to read. She tightly gripped the document. So many thoughts ran through her mind. There is no other way. If it is exposed, both me and my sister are done for. Another day passed. The sun had risen high and shone into Helena's room. Rodmine opened the door and entered. Good morning, Duchess. Helena's appearance at this time did not seem very good. Her face did not have a single bit of vitality. Rodmine quickly asked, did you stay up all night? Helena absent-mindedly replied, it is not like that. She kept thinking about how not to expose her inability to use the treasure. Seeing that her mood was not stable, Rodmine worriedly asked, are you okay? Facing Rodmine's question, Helena smiled and pointed at her beautiful face. Makeup can cover it all. The maids quickly helped Helena enhance her beauty. She thought to herself, if I appear with a tired face, would not it be like saying, I am so scared that I can't sleep? Helena naturally did not like that. In just a moment, Helena had returned to her radiant appearance in her pink and white clothes, returning to the original appearance of a duchess. Helena liked this appearance very much. She smiled and said, I like it a lot, and then waved her hand and gave gold coins to the maids. After finishing their work, everyone quickly left Helena's room. At this time, Rodmine went over and whispered in Helena's ear, what will the Crown Prince do? Helena indifferently replied, let him do what he wants. Just keep resisting. Just because of one small change, her sister Callisto had become a person who believed in non-marriage. And she was determined to the end, completely different from the original story. So what will Jackal be like? Helena needed more time to learn about the male lead. Only then could she come up with a perfect plan. While the two were thinking intently, Rodmine's facial muscles suddenly twitched. Helena quickly noticed and asked, what is with your expression? Rodmine replied, it is just that I remembered what the Duke said in the past. He continued, for the past 10 years, he has been collecting evidence of tax evasion from the people and also said that he would smash their heads. That time, I understood what smashing their heads meant. Although I do not understand the phrase smashing their heads very well, in the end, he defeated them. Reborn clearly said, very impressive. Helena was also very interested in this. He smiled. Reborn said that to reassure Helena. He added, so you will definitely do even better now. Reborn's words really touched her a bit. Jackal was not someone who was easily defeated, but anyway, Helena was very determined. She said, if necessary, I will lead you to escape, Reborn. Waiting for her to say that, Reborn immediately pulled out his resignation letter. These words make me cry. If that is the case, then I am very grateful if you let me eat and play comfortably, Duchess. Helena would naturally not accept. She smiled and replied, a resignation letter, my pet, that won't do. Immediately afterward, Helena immediately regained her spirits. Today is the first day of work. Good luck. No matter what happens, you must be strong. Helena and Reborn had just stepped out of the room. The Crown Prince was already standing here waiting for her. He even waved friendly to greet her. As soon as she saw the Crown Prince, Helena froze. She wondered, why is he standing in the hallway? Prince Jackal spoke first. Good morning, Duchess. Was your night comfortable? Helena cautiously bowed her head and replied, yes, your majesty. Prince Jackal continued, I was very surprised to hear that you would start work today. Most people would rest first before starting work. Helena thought it is just that they have free time, so that is why, but she did not say that. She just smiled and replied, I like working. The Crown Prince was very excited about Helena's answer. He smiled brightly and said, really, me too. What a coincidence. Looking at the Crown Prince's happy expression, Helena thought he likes slaves to work for him, huh? Before she could say much, the Crown Prince changed the subject. I also like other things. Do you want to hear? Helena still kept her composure and asked, although it is a bit rude if I refuse, will it affect my work? The Crown Prince replied, of course not. Waiting for just that, Helena directly stabbed the Crown Prince in the heart. She smiled brightly and replied, then I will take my leave. Hearing this, the Crown Prince only hummed and said, what a pity. The Crown Prince only replied with that. Helena was a bit suspicious. He gives up easier than I thought. Could it be that he was just joking yesterday? Then Helena asked, where do I work now? Prince Jackal had changed his attitude 180 degrees. He said, seriously, I came out to say this. Hearing this, Helena was even more surprised. She suspiciously wondered. Jackal came out just to explain that. Why? The Crown Prince began to explain the work. The Duchess only needs to come to my study every day, and you can use your day off freely. Helena was very happy with this. She smiled and said, I won't use it if it is mandatory. The Crown Prince quickly replied to her, the Duchess really likes working. Helena still smiled and said, perhaps so. But as soon as she said this, the Crown Prince immediately denied. No, you are trying to finish this work quickly, Being called out on her true intentions, Helena could only give a confident smile. Then the Crown Prince continued to talk about the work. The reason why I waited for you here today is special, because I have to directly introduce the inside. Just hearing that, so many scary images had appeared in Helena's head. What is inside? Opening the door, it is a bright red color. Corpses are inside. I hate those things. Prince Jackal still kept his somber expression and said, because I do not know what you like, I chose it myself. I hope the Duchess will like it. After saying that, the Crown Prince immediately ordered the door to be opened and went out. Helena still thought it was all in her head, so she was not prepared and quickly told them to wait. But it was too late. The door to the room was opened, and a dazzling light shone from inside. Looking into the room, Helena was immediately stunned. The Crown Prince continued, I have been preparing the wedding from before. Completely different from Helena's expectations, the room did not have any dead bodies. Instead, it was filled with countless beautiful flowers, and there were even seats for guests. Helena's eyes widened in surprise. She temporarily could not believe her eyes. The Crown Prince was very happy with his creation. He smiled and asked, so, are you satisfied with this proposal? Another bolt of lightning struck Helena's head. She was startled and horrified. She asked herself, if I run away, will my entire family be arrested? Helena froze for a long time. She did not know how to deal with this problem. The Crown Prince was indeed crazier than she thought. The Crown Prince stepped forward and asked, do you like it? Helena, who was frozen, was immediately startled by the question. She pondered, I can't laugh this off because he is a madman. For my goal I will do anything. At this moment, Crown Prince Jackal stepped next to Helena again. Her expression was not very comfortable. To prove to him that Helena could do anything, her inner self was screaming. She wanted to destroy everything inside the room, but that was just a thought. Helena only dared to force a smile and cursed inwardly. Like what is there to like? Right now, I just want to abandon the idea of waiting for my sister and run away immediately. Helena called for Rodmine's help. Rodmine, where are you? Quickly beat this jerk up. Receiving the Duke's signal for help, Rodmine immediately took out his resignation letter and muttered, "Oh me, I am resigning." Looking at the two of them whispering and not saying anything, Crown Prince Jackal chuckled. No response at all, huh? Helena had no choice but to speak. She bowed her head and asked, "Can I be honest?" The Crown Prince looked at her gently and said, "Just speak." Contrary to that gentleness, Helena looked annoyed and said, "It is really bad." Although Helena said that, the expression on Crown Prince Jackal's face did not change at all, which meant it had no impact. He still smiled and asked, "That bad?" Helena did not hold back and replied, "Yes, that bad." The Crown Prince stubbornly asked further, "Then what is the worst part?" Helena explained in detail. Who sets up a wedding hall without asking for the other person's opinion? Your actions only put more pressure on the other person. No matter how decorated the room is, Helena still refused and said, "I have no intention of getting married in a study, and this color is not my style either. And neither are you." Helena only dared to think this, not say it. After being criticized bluntly by Helena, the Crown Prince finally accepted it. He nodded. But that could not dampen the Crown Prince's spirit. He immediately smiled again after just 1 second and said, "This feedback, I will accept it." This expression of the Crown Prince made Helena explode. She just wanted to raise her middle finger at him, but since he was still the Crown Prince, she had to endure it. Even so, the Crown Prince warmly invited Helena into the room. Helena still had to endure this madman. After entering the study, the Crown Prince was not frivolous anymore. He returned to his original serious state. "There is nothing difficult. It is mainly to assist me with work." The Crown Prince handed the document to Helena and continued, "First, I will explain this issue." Helena was listening, but her brain was cursing inwardly. He is acting like nothing happened. Ha, so shameless. Helena sat at the desk, and the Crown Prince diligently guided her through each task. Looking at the Crown Prince's appearance while working, no one would think he was a madman. Helena secretly assessed, he explains things more thoroughly than I thought. Moreover, he was not acting up anymore. Helena's eyes slowly moved down and stopped at the Crown Prince's chest. While guiding her through the work, the Crown Prince and Helena accidentally held the same document. The Crown Prince immediately took the opportunity to grab her hand and said, "Oh my, we touched." The Crown Prince touched Helena's hand and praised, "Your fingers are so beautiful." Again, Helena could not predict Crown Prince Jackal's moves. She looked at him in panic. The Crown Prince looked at her with a smile and said, "This ring suits your hand very well. I will give it to you." Helena did not think and immediately refused. The Crown Prince asked for the reason. "Why?" Helena immediately made up a reason. "I do not like rings. Yeah, I won't like them from today onwards." After that, he kept doing that, constantly finding excuses to touch Helena's hand, making her hair stand on end. After finishing the instructions, the Crown Prince finally returned to his desk. However, he still did not let her go. Crown Prince Jackal kept mentioning the ring during work hours. Occasionally, the Crown Prince would come over to talk to her. "What are you planning to do after work?" Helena worked diligently and replied to the Crown Prince, "I am not doing anything." Jackal's tactics continued until the end of work. A long day had passed. It was finally evening. Helena was able to return to her room to rest. She sat down and sighed. Rodmine immediately asked, "Duke, your expression looks like you want to run away immediately." Helena lamented, "Going to work for a day makes me feel 10 years older." Then she thought, "This won't do." Rodmine continued to report, "I have tried to investigate the matter you asked me to investigate." "Do you want to hear it?" Helena waved her hand tiredly and said, "Just say it." Immediately after, Rodmine said, "The Crown Prince really hates women who actively pursue him. Seems like some things happened when he was growing up and the outfits are too revealing." Helena only heard up to here and immediately asked Rodmine to stop and questioned, wait a minute. I did not ask you to investigate this. I told you to investigate the family heads who did not complete their tasks on time and came back right away. I did not tell you to find out the Crown Prince's ideal type." Rodmine looked cool and said, "I am Rodmine, the Duke's right-hand man. To solve your problems, I conducted an independent investigation." Helena was not happy with Rodmine's jokes. She grabbed his collar angrily and cursed, "You jerk, do you like this a lot?" Seeing that the situation was not good, Road mine quickly admitted, "It is a misunderstanding. I was wrong." Helena was still angry. She threatened, "If I really get married, I will take you as dowry." Road mine did not dare to joke anymore. He quickly apologized, "I have made a big mistake. Let me kneel." 1 second he was acting with Helena, and the next second Road mine immediately switched back to his serious working state. "Let us stop the jokes here. I have rearranged all the requests. About 5 years ago, the family head of the Palagat family made a big mistake while being the crown prince's assistant. The crown prince kicked that person out of his sight. In other words, if you are kicked out by the royal family, then the 1-year deadline is no longer an issue." After hearing this, Helena had another thought: being kicked out is not too bad. The person who is kicked out not only has bad rumors spread in the upper class but also has problems in consolidating the family's position. But what if I take all those rumors and leave the duke's position? Then my sister will return to be the duke. Everything will be perfect, a beautiful picture. Although the problem is that my sister has to agree to be the duke. If I explain the situation clearly, it is no longer a problem. After a while of thinking, Helena concluded, "It is not too bad. There is an old saying like this: if someone acts like a jerk, then you should act even more like a jerk." Road mine asked confusedly, "Is that a suitable saying for the current situation?" Road mine suddenly remembered Helena of the past. She once shouted, "The tax money is leaking too much. I will uproot those who are like mosquitoes sucking the Acrux family's blood." Her words made Road mine panic. Helena smiled triumphantly and said to Road mine, "So you should cooperate. I will kill them all." Road mine remembered and thought to himself, "The duke always shows a genius side when she is determined, but sometimes the direction is a bit too much. I hope nothing happens." At this time, Helena was struggling to think about how to get kicked out. Looking at her pondering, Road mine thought to himself, "The duke is still the same as before, always looking forward." The next day, when the sun was at its peak, Helena still had not gone to work. At this time, a man entered the crown prince's study. The crown prince glanced at him coldly. The man understood and immediately reported, "Duke Acrux has not gone to work." Crown Prince Jackal paused a bit after hearing this, but immediately after, he suddenly smiled and asked, "Where did she go?" Being asked a difficult question, the man stammered, not knowing how to answer that. At this time, the crown prince suddenly put his hand on the man's shoulder. Pop sound rang out. The crown prince questioned, "Don't tell me you do not know. That can't be right." The expression on his face was no longer smiling. Instead, it was a pair of eyes filled with murderous intent. Jackal ordered, "Let us go find her." At the same time, a girl suddenly appeared sleeping outside in the garden. Seeing her sleeping, the maids asked each other curiously, "Shouldn't we wake her up? You try going." "No, it is too scary." The girl lying on the chair was Helena. She was still sleeping soundly, unaware of what was happening. This garden was very secluded and hard to find. The maids wondered how she could find it and run here to sleep. At this moment, Helena suddenly woke up and laughed he, scaring the two maids. Helena did this because she had decided to oppose Jackal, and her way was to not go to work and wait to be fired, doing sloppy work but still getting paid. Helena lay down on the chair. She looked into the void and thought, of course I have thought of an excuse in case he gets too angry. The position she was lying in was very convenient for admiring nature. Helena sighed inwardly, "The sunlight is so beautiful." She reached out and gently touched the blue sky and thought again, "Ever since the moment I was born into this world and realized the original story, I have only rushed into work. There is no other way." The original story is what pushed the two sisters away, as evidenced by corruption occurring everywhere in the duke's family. When she was young, Helena had to deal with many such cases in the Acrux family. The man knelt on the ground and begged Helena, "It can't be like this." Helena, although young, had very mature thoughts. She questioned, "Why can't it be?" She pointed at the man and said, "I studied for a whole year, sleeping 2 hours a day, only for the things you embezzled to be revealed. If you continue, there will definitely be more. Okay, I will give you a chance. Only those who confess will be given leniency. Think carefully." After Helena finished speaking, she ordered the two of them to be arrested. Seeing that the plan had been exposed, the two in the Acrux family immediately turned against each other and accused each other. "No, wait, I will explain. I will tell that person is the one who bribed." At that time she was too young, so the knight did not trust her completely. Therefore, she presented undeniable evidence. From a very young age, Helena realized her problem. She told herself, "I have to be stronger. If my body can't be healthy, then I will train my mind. I can do anything. Yes, I can do everything to change the original story. But now I will just rest first. It has been a long time since I have done nothing." Helena relaxed happily and thought about the future. "If I can live like this in the future too." Helena had not finished speaking when a familiar voice suddenly rang out. Is that even allowed? Hearing this voice, Helena's expression immediately became flustered. She hurriedly jumped up. The person who appeared was none other than Crown Prince Jackal. Helena analyzed for a while and then chose this corner to hide, but the Crown Prince could still quickly find her. Although very panicked, Helena still had to appear calm and ask the Crown Prince, "What is wrong?" Receiving this question, Crown Prince Jackal immediately questioned back. "That is what I should be asking." Helena was speechless for a moment. She turned her face away and cursed the Crown Prince inwardly. Damn, he is really scary. But then Helena turned around and asked the Crown Prince, "How did you know I was here?" Jackal thought for a moment. Immediately after, the Crown Prince smiled and said, "Maybe it is because of the power of love." Helena did not want to talk even more as she listened. She turned on mute mode part 2. However, Helena was also a mistress of dodging pickup lines. She asked angrily, "Did you use magic to track my location?" The Crown Prince still answered frivolously, "Love is also a magic." Receiving this answer, Helena could not ask any further. She thought to herself, if it is not because of magic, then what reason would there be to find me in such a short time? This is one of the places my sister discovered when she was hiding from Jackal in the original story. The Crown Prince suddenly put his hand on the chair. He moved closer and said to Helena, "It is so strange, why do not you believe it? It could also be fate." Hearing the two words fate, Helena immediately showed an attitude. She could not help but curse the Crown Prince inwardly again. "What fate? It has only been 2 days since we met, you jerk." But in just a moment, Helena's head came up with a way to handle it. She smiled sarcastically and said seriously, "That kind of fate, I do not need it." The Crown Prince was once again coldly rejected by Helena. He paused a bit, but before long, Jackal continued to throw out tricks. "If so, then it makes me even more ambitious. Can you tell me all my shortcomings in the future? I am very ambitious, ha ha ha." "Marry me." Helena did not hold back at all. She said frankly, "If you allow me to be impolite, then I will say everything." Even though he had said so many sentences, the Crown Prince still had not mentioned her taking a day off. Helena looked at him curiously. Seeing her expression, the Crown Prince asked, "Is your expression probing me?" Helena immediately retorted, "I am not. According to the regulations, vacation days must be guaranteed. I am just using that." The Crown Prince continued her words, "But who uses a vacation day on the second day of work?" Even though it was a bit unreasonable, Helena was still determined to protect her point of view. "Your Highness, I am only using what is guaranteed." The Crown Prince was not annoyed at all. He said, "I do not mean to blame you. It is just that this is the first time someone has used it this way." The shameless Crown Prince Jackal said, "How interesting. Not being able to see the Duke for a day makes me realize I want to see you even more." Helena was suffocating from the pickup lines. She sighed wearily, "Oh my God, let me give you a poem." After a while of chatting, the Crown Prince finally left. He even cheerfully hummed a song. Only after the Crown Prince left could Helena breathe a sigh of relief. But when she heard the Crown Prince's singing, Helena felt a chill. That night, an area in the castle suddenly lit up. It was Helena's explosion. She shouted angrily, I am going crazy." Helena vented her anger on the poor teddy bear. Rodmine also could not go to sleep. He complained, "Are you planning to stay up all night? Then give me overtime pay." A week passed. Helena was still struggling in the Crown Prince's cat and mouse game. She wondered with disheveled hair, what method should I use for him to understand? Every night, Helena lay in bed and spent time thinking about this. If I just work sloppily for 3 months, will I get fired? That is right, he did not clearly state the deadline. If I insist on having vacation days. The next day, the office was cleaned up early in the morning. Crown Prince Jackal actually brought a bed into the office and then nonchalantly said to Helena, "Just rest comfortably." A comfortable new bed was right next to her desk. The Crown Prince sincerely expressed, "If you want to have vacation days, then just rest here. If you want to meet, what is so difficult? I can do the work alone." Faced with these tricks of the Crown Prince, Helena shuddered. She smiled wryly and helplessly. Her head was screaming, "How can I become crazier than this jerk?" Looking at the bed next to her, Helena could only be silent. She held her forehead and sighed. A confident man brought a bed all the way to the office and left, saying that he had to meet the Emperor privately. After the Crown Prince left, Helena continued to immerse herself in her thoughts. In fact, this was not the only way to get fired. For example, the villain. In the original story, there were also some evil characters like Jackal. One of them was the male lead's half-sister, the princess. A person who was jealous of her sister because of her deep obsession with the male lead, who could not stand the sight of a woman next to her brother. Sitting in the office, Helena suddenly heard a loud noise. She immediately looked up. The office door suddenly swung open. The person who appeared was the male lead's sister, the rumored princess. The crown prince's sister was also the evil female support character in the original story. Just seeing the girl, Helena's eyebrows immediately furrowed. Too obvious, this person. This girl who radiated luxury was the princess, Princess Hyria, the villain in the novel that Helena had just mentioned. A person without blood and tears, completely obsessed with her brother. Helena reacted quickly. She immediately stood up. As Princess Hyria approached, Helena immediately bowed her head. Greetings, Princess. Acrax respectfully greets the small descendant of the sun Canopus. After she finished speaking, Princess Hyria did not say a word in response, a silence that was frightening. The person in front of her at this time was the villain of the original story. Helena was still smiling on the outside but thought to herself, why does not she say anything? Am I being ignored? Could it be that she is starting to bully me already? Hyria did not keep Helena waiting for long. She asked gently, how do you know I am a princess? Helena replied with a smile, how could I, as the Duke of the Empire, not know who the royalty is? Looking at the princess's expression, Helena could not help but associate it with fish cakes. Completely opposite to the original story, Princess Hyria did not have a hint of evil on her face. She tilted her head and looked at Helena. After that, Hyria asked again, are you the woman in my brother's office? The princess slowly moved closer to Helena and continued, the new Duke Acrax, I have heard of you. The princess's next action was something Helena did not expect. The princess suddenly reached out and gently pushed Helena's chin. In just a moment, the distance between the two people was shortened. The princess came closer and said, pretty. Helena panicked and fell backward. She smiled helplessly and thought to herself, they are really siblings. Their personalities are exactly the same. The princess looked around the room and continued to ask, where's my brother? Helena replied, the crown prince has gone to see the emperor. Hearing this, the princess only replied with an ah. Her eyes were still on Helena. The princess still had not let Helena go, so she had no choice but to struggle herself. But princess, how long will this kind of conversation last? Looking at Helena's adorable expression, the princess laughed and released her. The princess continued, I just feel very magical that there is a woman in my brother's room. For other girls, the crown prince was a devil. In the past, they were all kicked out. Definitely all kicked out. Hearing this, Helena also felt a little embarrassed. After speaking, the princess folded her arms and looked at her thoughtfully. But immediately after, the princess said, let us stop here today. You do not need to report that I came here. After saying that, she turned around and prepared to leave. At this time, the princess suddenly stopped and said one more sentence that made Helena panic. It seems like you two are so close that you can have a hot night here. After saying that, Hyria turned away, ignoring Helena in the back, who was trying to explain, wait a bit, it is not like that. However, the princess still did not pay attention to her. Hyria quickly left the office. After the princess left, Helena fell down in despair. Her face was painful. How did it turn out like this? It is a misunderstanding. As Princess Hyria returned to her palace, the maid immediately ran out and asked, Princess, you are back, have you met the crown prince? The princess no longer had the gentle expression from before. She gave a sinister smile and said, no, but there was something very interesting. Hyria reached out to pick up the baby snake in her hand. After that, she ordered, investigate the new Duke Acrax. Everything, do not miss anything, even the smallest detail. Returning to the office, 3 days had passed, but the bed was still in the study. Unexpectedly, Helena had quickly gotten used to this job. But she still was not used to that jerk. Just kidding. Helena sighed inwardly. It is uncomfortable to say that I have gotten used to this for more than a week. And I have discovered a truth, which is that being the crown prince is not that comfortable. I thought that when he was bored, he would be busy flirting with beautiful young ladies. Or hunting for the treasures of the constellations, like in the novel. But this is the first time I have seen someone working more than me. The amount of work he has is several times more than my family, a place that was once in a mess because of corruption. Moreover, he has not been bothering me today either. Unlike the usual life during the week when the crown prince would also be mumbling to Helena, let us go register for marriage. Helena stopped her work and sat thoughtfully looking at the crown prince. Helena wondered, why does his face look so serious? But only a second later did she realize the problem. In his hand was the document she had sorted out in the morning. The coal mine explosion, that was the task that the emperor had entrusted. If he could not solve it, he would definitely be punished. This was the event that appeared at the beginning of the original story. And it was also the bomb that the emperor gave to Jackal, hoping that he would fail. After all, the relationship between the emperor and the crown prince was really bad. Helena was the crown prince's assistant, so she would also be involved in this matter. She wondered, well, what should I do if the coal mine explosion really happens like in the original story? Then Jackal will fail. After that, his ambition for power and the treasures of the constellations will become even greater. And the chance of imprisoning my sister will get one step closer. Helena thought carefully, I should not make that madman's mood worse. After a while, Helena decided to start a conversation with the crown prince. Your Highness, it seems like you have only been looking at one document for the past 1 hour. Can I make a suggestion about this? The crown prince replied, speak. I will definitely allow it. Helena resolutely said, please give me all the other documents besides the explosion. I will handle them for you. Crown Prince Jackal was a bit surprised by this suggestion from Helena, but without giving him a chance to question, she continued, this event has caused countless deaths, so you must be busy with this event. The emperor just entrusted the handling of the explosion, while also adding administrative tasks. This tied Jackal up, unable to do anything. Actually, it was because the time was too rushed that Jackal could not solve it properly. The crown prince asked Helena suspiciously, if I give it to you, will you be able to do it? Helena was naturally confident in her ability. She proudly replied, yes, although I am still quite lacking, I am the duke who rules over a territory of hundreds of thousands of people. Since she said that, the crown prince had no way to refuse. He gave her the stack of documents and said, just this much first. It is a lot. Helena received it and replied, just leave it to me. At this time the crown prince added another sentence, but you doing this makes me like you even more. Helena still could not stabilize her emotions when hearing these sentences from the crown prince. She frowned and said, please take back your words before I sign an objection to all the documents. But even with the threat, the crown prince still intentionally continued, I can't hear what you are saying because my heart is beating too loud. Do you want to hear it? The crown prince then pulled Helena's hand, but as before, Helena flatly refused him. After receiving the documents, Helena rushed back to her seat. The crown prince watched her back, his eyes carrying many unsaid thoughts. 2 days later, Helena was on her way to the office when she suddenly received a shocking piece of news. Helena Acrux angrily asked back, are you sure about that? Roadmine firmly replied, yes, I just found out as well. Helena Acrux, upon receiving this news, was so angry that she gritted her teeth. The Acrux mine has exploded. She thought to herself, what is this? Clearly, the mine in the Acrux territory exploded. It never happened in the original story. Helena Acrux tried to stay calm and asked if there were any casualties. Roadmine reported seriously that luckily there were not any. Because it was a periodic inspection day, there was no one there. The explosion happened at the Ruby mine, which would be closed down in a few years anyway. So it can't be said to be of great value. Roadmine continued, anyway, this explosion is really strange. Could it be a divine prank? Helena Acrux, upon hearing this, also felt doubtful. Divine. It is hard to believe that there were no casualties and only property damage. If this explosion was someone's intention, it is clearly a warning. She thought helplessly, this definitely is not a mistake on my part. Helena Acrux said helplessly, what do you think? Roadmine was silent for a moment before voicing his opinion. It is clearly intentionally aimed at us. She asked again, then what will you do? Roadmine stated without hesitation, if the Duchess wants, I will provide appropriate measures. Do you need me to call the agents? Helena Acrux did not answer but thought to herself, could the culprit be the Emperor? He is someone who can know every move of the royal family, so he probably realized that I am helping Jackal. She slowly said, just react like this, let us just ignore this matter. Helena Acrux secretly made up her mind, once I have decided on the path I am taking, I must persevere. Anyway, the Emperor will be overthrown anyway. Resisting Jackal's feelings is even more dangerous. She sighed inwardly, my fate. Helena Acrux said helplessly to Roadmine, just bury it like that. Roadmine immediately obeyed the order. Yes, I understand, Duchess. After that, Jackal resolved the mine explosion, so neatly that not a single detail could be faulted. In that dark room, a voice rang out. An explosion also occurred in the Acrux territory. Although there were no casualties, the loss of property and materials was relatively large. At this time, a person was sitting there listening attentively to the report. Jackal Anthos spoke up. She did not say anything at all. Callisto Acrux said, unfortunately, this event has caused many casualties. Your Highness must be very busy just handling this matter, right? At this time a voice rang out, are you tired? Jackal Anthos smiled and said, it has already been a busy week, has not it, Duchess? He asked with concern. You have a nosebleed. Are you okay? Helena Acrox replied coldly. Your Highness's job is to find ways to save as many lives as possible, and I am just doing what I can as a citizen of the Empire. So I am fine. Jackal Anthos was silent after hearing her answer. He thought to himself, how interesting. Jackal Anthos reminisced and smiled to himself. What should I do at this rate? I might actually develop feelings for you, Duchess. Then you will be in big trouble. Time flew by quickly, and a month had passed. Helena Acrox thought to herself in confusion, but I still have not been kicked out. But lately. Jackal Anthos smiled politely, extended his hand, and said, Are you taking a walk? Go ahead and get some rest. Helena Acrox protested angrily. Not taking a walk, I want to take a vacation. If you are uncomfortable with your assistant taking vacations, just fire me. Jackal Anthos still was not angry. Oh, let me put the bed back in your room. Helena Acrox was speechless by his expression, angry but unable to say anything. She began to calculate in her head. It seems that being fired is not effective. Next plan. But at this moment, she saw a scene of a maid being forcibly dragged away and was shocked. What is going on? Helena Acrox could not help but feel disgusted at this sight. What a disgusting scene. The security of the palace is too bad. Even though he is old, the current emperor is still a lecherous old man. Rumors that he does not distinguish between status or age due to his desires have spread everywhere, so even in the palace, if maids are harassed, knights rarely intervene. Because the emperor himself has done such things. She suddenly remembered her own situation. Jackal's palace is quite clean, so I have completely forgotten about this. She thought to herself as she walked towards that side. But even if the emperor is a libertine, the succession to the throne won't be affected. Why? Because of an unexpected accident. The emperor can't have children anymore. Helena Acrox smiled inwardly. In other words, he is infertile. On this side, the maid was being scolded by that man to do not talk back. Hurry up. At this moment she went over, pushed his hand away, and shouted. She said she does not like it. She bravely stood in front of the maid and said, You are still forcing her to go even though she said she does not like it. The man asked in a bit of a panic. Who are you? Helena Acrox introduced herself without hesitation. I am Duchess Acrox. She also asked back, And who are you? The man hesitated and replied, I am Baron Podex. At this moment, a thought popped into her head. This is a small family that supports the emperor. Helena Acrox said angrily. When did Acrox fall so low that it is being looked down upon by a baron family like this? Podex knew he had misspoke and said meekly, I am sorry. I am a little slow to update information. But in his heart he thought, what a surprise. A girl becoming a duchess immediately without going through any succession will confuse people, especially a girl who has just come of age and has become a duchess. It is really surprising. However, at this moment he smirked and said, But the maid and I were discussing something, so please hand her back over. Helena Acrox replied arrogantly, Don't want to. He started to lose his composure and shouted, But I am an acquaintance of that maid. Don't interfere. He confidently declared, My Podex family has received the emperor's trust. Helena Acrox cursed inwardly. What nonsense. She said through gritted teeth, A baron like you dares to make demands of a duchess like me. Has the order of the royal family collapsed to this extent? He looked around and thought to himself, There is no one here. The new Duchess Acrox has become the Crown Prince's assistant. And the switch to the Crown Prince's faction has been buzzing for a month. Even His Majesty does not like this, so if I cause trouble here. Podex reached out his hand to snatch the maid behind Helena Acrox, thinking that His Majesty would appreciate him even more. Helena did not have time to react, so he brushed her hand aside. Don't interfere with me. His Majesty has instructed me to bring this girl there. Helena Acrox looked at his arrogant face and sighed inwardly. How annoying. Alright, you want to play to the end, huh? Time quickly passed to the next day. Jackal Anthos said, Duchess, and she replied immediately, yes. He looked at her bandaged hand and asked, What exactly happened? She replied calmly, Nothing. Helena Acrox's face was full of righteousness. I was just bored, so I was dispensing justice. Crown Prince Jackal looked at Helena helplessly. Duchess. Looking at her arm in a cast, the Crown Prince asked in wonder, What exactly happened? Helena replied nonchalantly, Nothing. She said proudly, I was just bored, so I was dispensing justice. Hearing her say that, the Crown Prince suddenly smiled. Helena also looked at him intently, waiting for his next words. The Crown Prince asked, Who are you talking about? Recalling the scene from before, Helena was taking a walk when she encountered a pervert harassing a young girl. Helena immediately became a hero, saving the damsel in distress. She said, I am warning you for the last time, take your hands off her. That pervert was still shameless, looking at Helena and asking arrogantly, what are you going to do, Duchess? Helena did not say much. She immediately lifted her skirt and kicked the pervert hard in the leg. I am going to do this, so what? The pervert grabbed his leg in pain and screamed. Helena looked around for Reborn. How troublesome, Reborn is too far away. The pervert got angry after being hit by Helena and changed his tone. What are you doing now? Helena looked at him and wondered, should I just put on a sock and sue? At this time, a voice suddenly came to Helena's ears. How annoying. Do you want to be hit back? Helena looked around in surprise. Is someone talking next to my ear? What is going on? The voice continued to urge her. Hit him quickly, just use your fist and hit him. Although she did not know what it was, Helena still did as she was told. She raised her fist. She ignored everything and put all her strength into the punch. Immediately after, Helena dealt the pervert a fatal blow that shook the earth, and he immediately fell to the ground, his soul flying away. Helena felt very satisfied after hitting him. However, just 1 second later, Helena had to bear the consequences. Her hand suddenly cracked, and her entire arm became immobile, and a scream rang out. Helena remembered, but she did not intend to tell the Crown Prince everything as it was. Seeing her standing there absent-mindedly, the Crown Prince said, Duchess, I do not like repeating myself. Even so, the Crown Prince repeated the question, who are you talking about? Helena replied, I injured myself. The Crown Prince frowned. He naturally did not believe it. Jackal immediately questioned her. You said just now that you were dispensing justice. Just tell me. Helena made up a reason and said, yes, I caught a fly in the palace. Isn't this preventing diseases for everyone? The Crown Prince naturally still did not believe it. One side was fire, and the other side was ice. Both sides were evenly matched, and no one would give in. The Crown Prince praised her sarcastically. You really have a talent for talking nonsense seriously. Helena did not care. She smiled and replied, thank you, Your Highness. Seeing her like this, Crown Prince Jackal could only sigh, and then he said, do you think I do not know what is going on in the palace? Having said this, Helena did not hide anything. She directly confronted the Crown Prince. Isn't this something Your Highness caused? Outsiders do not need to know. The Crown Prince suppressed his anger to talk to Helena. He still asked gently, am I an outsider? I am courting the Duchess, so I should be closer than an outsider. Right after saying that, the Crown Prince reached out to Helena. Helena quickly retreated. She sighed inwardly. I almost got seduced. The Crown Prince approached Helena and asked with concern, how badly are you injured? Helena replied casually, not too serious, just a broken wrist. Looking at Helena's injured arm, the Crown Prince asked again, aren't you right-handed? What should I do? Helena immediately raised her left hand and replied, I am ambidextrous, so I do not have any problems at work, so Your Highness does not need to sympathize with me. Looking at her expression at this moment, the Crown Prince smiled unconsciously and called out, Duchess. He gently stroked her hair and said, normally, you do not know how to be shy about taking vacations, but when you are in pain, you do not use that method. The Crown Prince stroked her hair and gave her a suggestion. If it were me, I would ask for help at times like this. After saying that, the Crown Prince withdrew his hand. Helena actually felt that the Crown Prince had become gentler, but would not that be even more dangerous? In the original story, the most climactic development of imprisoning the sister was when Jackal was at his gentlest. After that, Jackal suggested, you should go back and rest, but Helena refused this time. She resolutely replied, I will work. Since she said that, the Crown Prince did not give in further. He shrugged. After that, Helena returned to her desk and continued to process documents. A few days later, while in her room, Helena suddenly received an order from the Crown Prince. Reborn announced, His Majesty is looking for the Duchess. After preparing, Helena went to the Crown Prince's place. On the way, she thought to herself, first, I told Reborn to tell Jackal that I would be late. However, as soon as Helena arrived at the door of the room, the door was not opened. The Crown Prince ordered the servant to send an apology to Helena. I am sorry. His Majesty's body suddenly is not feeling well, so he sent you a small gift as an apology. Can you come with me? Helena followed the servant, and as soon as she entered the room, she immediately realized and sighed, I knew it. Their intention is to lock me in this warehouse. Even so, Helena remained calm. She said to the servant, I have a piece of advice for you. My assistant has already seen your face. If something happens to me, who do you think he will go looking for first? And what if His Majesty says he does not know anything? Guess who will be punished? Hearing Helena say that, the servant was startled. Standing inside the dark room, Helena still exuded authority and said, if you want to live, tell the Crown Prince that his assistant will be a little late. At this moment, a disgusting laugh suddenly rang out. Ha ha ha! From behind the door, the pervert from before slowly walked out. He smiled smugly and said, "Doing that won't do any good." Helena was not afraid at all. She smiled faintly and said, "Baron, we meet again. The Emperor has been trying to isolate Jackal, and Helena is Duchess Acrux, who is on the Crown Prince's side, so of course she will be harassed. The time when she first became Duchess is the right time to deal with it. However, Helena is not a fool. How could she not know that? You have fallen into the trap." The Baron said irritably, "I do not know what you are talking about, Duchess." Helena sneered and asked, "What are you thinking?" The Baron suddenly smiled sinisterly. He approached her and said, "It seems that you did not just climb to the position of Duchess Acrux with your body, huh?" Hearing him say that, Helena thought, he is not a knight either, so what is he relying on to be so confident? Then, Helena glared and said, "Baron, this is the first and last piece of advice I want to give you. If you stop, I will let it go and not make a big deal out of it." Hearing her say these words, the perverted Baron burst out laughing. He laughed heartily, "Ha ha ha ha." His voice continued to ring out, "You still do not understand the reason why I dare to do this to the Duchess right here in the royal palace." That Baron stood in front of Helena and declared, "Because this is His Majesty's order." Before coming here, Helena had instructed Rodmine, and he asked back after hearing it, "Do all the bodyguards have to withdraw?" Rodmine asked hesitantly, "Are you really okay?" Helena replied decisively, "I am okay, what do you think?" Rodmine immediately said his thoughts, while saving the maid. A voice echoed from the void, and then the fist emitted light. "Is not that the power of the treasure?" Helena smiled and asked, "You think so too?" Returning to the dark room, Helena thought silently. In the original story, my sister also heard the voice of the treasure. Maybe it can only exert the power of the treasure when facing danger. She clenched her fist and made a decision. It is worth experimenting. Even if I fail, I have already prepared a backup plan. At this time, the Baron signaled the servant to close the door. He did not dare to disobey the order and immediately closed the door. Inside the room now, there were only Helena and the Baron's faction, and they surrounded Helena. Even so, Helena was not worried at all. She smiled and said, "Baron, you look very confident. You even dare to say that this is His Majesty's order." The Baron replied, "It is okay, you will forget everything anyway." At this moment, Helena suddenly heard something. But before she could understand what it was, those barons started attacking her, and Helena immediately realized. One of them rushed up and swung his fist at her, but Helena quickly dodged it. However, after dodging, Helena tripped carelessly. Helena could not keep her balance and fell to the ground. Helena unfortunately fell on her injured arm. She struggled to get up and asked herself again, "Why is not there any voice? Did I guess wrong?" Helena sighed, "This is not good. I have to find a way to escape this place first. Stupid, so stupid." Those barons quickly held Helena down. At this time, a strange voice rang out again. "My master is like this, it hurts my pride too much." At the same time, the baron took out a sharp knife. He smiled smugly and said, "I do not mind letting you go in peace." He held a knife to Helena's throat and threatened that after today, she would become an idiot. At the same time, that voice continued to ring out, "What are you doing?" But only Helena could hear it. After the baron finished threatening, he pushed the task of dealing with her onto someone else. The voice asked her to remove the bandage. In the blink of an eye, a miracle happened. Although her wrist was clearly broken, it no longer hurt. Helena quickly removed the bandage and swung her fist at the face of the man holding her. Next, Helena transformed into a different person. She swiftly grabbed the hand of the remaining man. Then she flung him 80 meters away. An extremely powerful aura emanated from her entire body. So Helena's gamble worked. She chuckled to herself. The baron was frightened by this sight. He trembled and dropped the knife on the ground. The situation had been reversed. Helena slowly approached him and asked, "You said that no matter what, I would forget everything anyway." Faced with such terrifying pressure, he cried in fear. Get out of here." Helena stepped on the knife and continued, "That is not an answer at all. Don't you know that I am the owner of the artifact, yet you still dared to attack me?" The baron turned pale with fear. Questioned by Helena, he trembled and said, "How could that be? Clearly, your sister is the one who possesses the artifact." Helena was slightly startled upon hearing this. She frowned slightly. But immediately after, Helena suddenly smiled and said, "I will return everything you just said. Goodbye, no regrets." With that, Helena dealt with the remaining man. With just one move, the perverted baron lay motionless at her feet. Originally, this secret was only known to close relatives, which means someone is leaking information about the Acrux family. But saying Callisto possesses the artifact probably does not come from someone that close. After dealing with the people helping Helena, the voice continued to speak. "How annoying." Helena quickly glanced around. "It is the voice of the artifact. Where is it?" Despite looking very carefully, she still did not see anything strange. At this moment, a small golden wing suddenly entered the frame, and the voice came from there. A human this week is my master. Immediately after, a baby bird appeared before Helena. Besides her, there was only this bird here. Helena suspiciously wondered, don't tell me, this is the Acrux artifact. Helena pointed at the bird and asked in surprise, what, this bird? Hearing Helena's disdainful tone, the bird jumped up. What about a bird? Helena asked doubtfully, isn't the Acrux artifact a weapon? The bird replied sullenly, it is because you can't use a weapon that I became like this. The baby bird continued to criticize Helena, you are too weak, so no weapon is suitable for you. Hearing this, Helena could only laugh it off because she really was like that. But immediately after, Helena yelled and asked, does that mean using bare hands is also like that? The bird replied, that is right, I have never met anyone weaker than you. What exactly are you? The bird spoke while physically assaulting her. Then it added, I have felt something strange from your soul already. As the two were talking, a light suddenly appeared. The little bird quickly hid. The door to the room opened, and behind the door, Prince Jackal appeared. He rushed towards her. The prince immediately embraced Helena. The prince also saw the three motionless barons behind her at this moment. Jackal already knew what had happened. He gently said to Helena, a lot has happened, has not it, Duchess? What should we do with them? Seeing Helena's appearance at this moment, Prince Jackal suggested, should I kill them? Hearing this intention, Helena immediately grabbed his collar. She quickly stopped him. Helena said while panting, no, your highness, you must deal with it fairly as a witness. Helena lowered her head but continued to say, you are an intelligent person, so you must know why he attacked me, right? In the blink of an eye, Helena's state changed again. She held onto his collar and said to the prince, don't act rashly, or I will regret becoming your aide. Killing is not a good solution. Helena's expression was very unstable at this moment. After all, the rumor that she was siding with the prince had spread everywhere. If he caused any more trouble, would not she be the one to suffer? After Helena finished speaking, her hand gradually loosened its grip on the prince's collar. At this moment, even breathing felt difficult. This was the price to pay for using the artifact. The prince finally reacted. He grabbed Helena's hand and said, you are really strong, huh? The prince pulled her closer and whispered, the Duchess is the first woman to grab my collar, you know. How about we really get married? The prince affirmed, I am serious. The look in the prince's eyes for Helena was very firm. Helena could also feel that from Jackal. She looked at him in surprise, but no matter what, Helena still would not accept marrying the prince. Helena escaped from the prince's embrace and said, I do not like it. But at this moment, Helena's body suddenly lost balance. She swayed and could not stand steadily. The prince quickly wrapped his arms around her. Helena no longer had any strength to resist. She dazedly lay in the prince's embrace. The prince gently said, rest for a while. Lying in the prince's warm embrace, Helena thought to herself, although I do not want to admit it, Jackal's appearance has made me feel more at ease. A few days later, an activity in the royal palace was still proceeding as normal. The strange thing here was that Baron Podex had suddenly disappeared, while the royal family pretended not to know anything about that day's events. This is called silencing. They used the Baron as a pawn and then discarded him. Helena recalled the events of a few days ago. After she fainted in that dark room, the prince carried Helena away from there. A moment later, Helena woke up. She slowly opened her eyes and looked around. As soon as she woke up, she saw that she was being carried by the prince. He even asked caringly, ah, you are awake. This scene immediately changed Helena's expression. The prince talked to Helena as he walked. Only 5 minutes have passed. Even the maids were surprised by the prince's gentleness. The prince carried Helena to a room. The door was opened, and Helena asked doubtfully, where is this? The prince calmly carried Helena into the room and replied, my bedroom. Hearing this, Helena immediately reacted, I will go to my own bedroom myself. Put me down. No matter how much she squirmed, Prince Jackal still did not let go. The prince said again, you were attacked right in the royal palace, you know. Where do you think is safe? With that, Jackal gently placed Helena on his soft bed. Immediately after, the prince suddenly put his hand on her shoulder and asked, could it be that you knew they would attack you in advance? The prince suddenly spoke sternly and said, ah, the Duchess can use the artifact, so the situation will be different, right? Even so, just stay here obediently because I have something I want to bring to you. As soon as the words fell, the prince turned away. Looking at the prince's expression at this moment, Helena was so scared that she did not dare to utter a word. A moment later, the prince came with a necklace and gave it to Helena. Looking at the necklace in his hand, Helena wondered, "What is this?" The prince replied, "This is a tool to help you heal." He explained further, "A constellation artifact like the acrux that you possess." Helena carefully looked at the necklace. She quickly realized it is real. Wait, this is Spica. Spica, this is the artifact that symbolizes purity, but... Looking at the artifact in the prince's hand, Helena did not accept it immediately. She questioned the prince, "Why does your highness have the artifact of the Marquis Spica?" The prince was a little surprised by Helena's knowledge. Then he said, "You know a lot about artifacts." Asked a difficult question. Helena gave a forced smile. But the prince did not really care about this issue. He sat down and said, "This is an artifact that has the ability to heal. I'm thinking of finding someone who can use this. Someone close to me, enough for me to entrust the artifact to." As the prince spoke, his eyes were directed towards Helena. Helena certainly did not believe the prince's reasoning. Lying, he clearly took it by threatening. Therefore, she immediately refused the prince's kindness. "There is no need for that. Just give me medicine." Helena's rejection really hurt the prince. He said sternly, "How hurtful, do not you understand my heart? Didn't I say that I want to marry the Duchess?" Immediately after, Jackal pushed Helena down on the bed and said, "Although I can't give the Duchess the kind of love that you want, I can give you wealth, honor, and power, everything. Think about it once." After the prince finished speaking, he gently placed a kiss on Helena's hair. Helena pondered, "If he knew that my sister was the real owner of the artifact, he would treat me differently. So even if I refuse, I won't have any regrets." At this moment, the little bird appeared again. As soon as it arrived, it criticized Helena. "You weakling, how could you faint for 3 whole days?" After the incident, Helena had been unconscious for 3 days. Fortunately, when she woke up, she was no longer in Jackal's bedroom. The little bird continued to grumble at her. "Being this weak, what can you accomplish?" Rodmine, even though it was the first time he saw the little bird, he could already recognize its identity. This is the embodiment of the Acrux artifact. Rodmine could not believe his eyes. He questioned, "What Acrux is the constellation Leo? So why does it have the appearance of a bird?" Without waiting for Helena to answer, the little bird immediately switched to physically assaulting someone else. It pecked at Rodmine while shouting, "My true form has to be Leo, right? This is the form when I do not have enough strength. This master is too weak, so I can't maintain that form, so I became like this." Hearing this, Helena could only smile helplessly. She could not understand the world of constellations. After being interacted with by the bird, Rodmine said with a dirty face, "I congratulate Helene, congratulate the Duchess, you have used the artifact." Thinking that was all, Helena added, "After using it, I fainted for 3 days." Putting the issue of the artifact aside, Rodmine switched to talking about Prince Jackal. Perhaps this time, his ambitions will gradually increase, along with the obsession. Helena's face darkened after hearing this. She was shocked. But then Helena thought to herself, "But I am only a half-heir. The plan to be chased away has not changed, but there is no way out now. I will try to use the relationship between the Emperor and Jackal to get chased away." After thinking for a moment, Helena asked, "Is the servant I helped in the garden okay?" Rodmine replied, "Yes, she is living very peacefully now." When the servant was mentioned, Rodmine's expression was a little hesitant. He continued, "But that servant, something's not right." Too much information in one day was announced to Helena, and she froze for a few seconds when she heard about this. Rodmine continued to talk about the servant. She was the one who was taken away by the Baron and then rescued by the Duchess. So when Baron Podex is dealt with, the servant involved in this case can hardly be safe. After hearing about the problem, Helena thought for a while and replied, "All right, if the Emperor is the one behind it, then of course he will deal with all those involved in this failed strategy." Rodmine continued, "Yes, that is why I asked the Shadow to follow her. But the bad news is that the servant was attacked, but she is safe." Helena could not help but be surprised when she heard this. The 2 words "difficult to understand" appeared on her face. Rodmine quickly answered her doubts. Someone dealt with the attacker before he touched the servant. The attacker was killed by a masked person. The attacker who was taken down was taken away by someone, and there are currently no suspicious movements around the servant. Helena could not help but be suspicious about this. She pondered, so everything has been dealt with in a suspiciously neat manner, as if there is something behind the servant. Then Helena asked, "Does the person who saved the servant have anything special?" Rodmine replied, "Yes, that person wore a cloak when they appeared." At this moment, Rodmine suddenly remembered something. He continued, "It seems like they had silver hair. This detail can also be considered important." Helena continued to think, silver hair only appears in nobles from the Eastern Empire. Coming from a closed Eastern family and appearing in this royal palace, I can only think of one person. The name that teased my sister in the original work. Although not to the extent of Jackal. He is also quite troublesome. But those were just thoughts. Helena was not sure, so Helena ordered Rodmine, continue to follow the servant. If there are any traces of that person, tell me. Rodmine immediately accepted the order. After chatting with Helena, she turned to the little bird. The little bird was diligently gnawing on a book. Helena noticed it at this moment. She asked, Acrux, can artifacts recognize each other when they are close? The little bird replied yes. Then Helena continued to ask, so if you get close, can you tell who the owner of the artifact is? The little bird replied in a reluctant way. Of course, if it is really the master that the artifact accepts. Helena wondered, so if it is just a family member who possesses the artifact, then they can't be considered the master. The little bird jumped up after hearing this. It shouted, that is obvious. Although a little grumpy, if Acrux is here, then Helena can know in advance the masters of the constellations and avoid them or make allies. At this moment, the servant suddenly announced, Princess Hyria has come to visit. Receiving the news, Helena immediately froze. What so suddenly, why? Helena stood up in a panic, but even so, Helena had to quickly prepare to welcome the princess. Princess Hyria radiantly walked in. She greeted cheerfully, how are you, Duchess? Helena replied, yes, I am very honored to meet the princess. The princess did not just come empty-handed but also brought a super huge bouquet of flowers. Helena was very curious about this large object. Her eyes kept looking at it. Hyria also noticed that. The princess asked, you are more interested in the bouquet than me. Are you curious about what this is? Helena quickly replied. No, I apologize if I made the princess unhappy. Hyria appeared very friendly. She waved her hand, ordered the servant to bring the flowers over, and said, all right, anyway, it is not entirely unrelated to the purpose of my visit today. Take it. Holding the supersized bouquet in her hand, Helena's expression could not help but be surprised. But she was also very curious about the reason why she received the bouquet. Helena frankly asked, yes, why give it to me? Princess Hyria looked at Helena with a gentle smile and replied, probably to propose. Helena was afraid as soon as she heard the words propose. She quickly hid behind the chair. Seeing that, Hyria quickly corrected herself, I am just kidding. Sit back down. At this moment, the princess revealed the correct reason. This is a gift from my brother. I just came to deliver it. And I also wanted to see you again. Hyria said with a very satisfied expression. Hearing this, Helena wondered, so these flowers were given by the prince? The princess casually replied, no way, I stole them. The more she talked to the princess, the more confused Helena became. Her eyes widened blankly. Helena immediately questioned the princess. How did the princess know that it was for me and bring it here? What if it was not? The princess looked blank at this time and replied that a romantic proposal scene was set up by the princess, and she said, in this royal palace, who does not know who my brother is passionately pursuing? The princess smiled and continued, of course, someone without blood and tears like my brother won't truly love you. Definitely not. The princess's expression suddenly changed at this time. Her eyes became extremely frightening. Helena also realized the princess's hidden meaning. Oh dear, is this a warning? The princess's words seemed to imply that my brother won't love you, so do not dream about it. This was not something that could be easily dismissed because in the original work, the princess really dealt with all the women who approached the prince, as cruel as the snake she was raising. The siblings had many terrifying sides. Helena thought for a moment and then asked, so His Highness does not know that the princess brought it here? Hyria radiantly replied, yeah, our brotherly relationship is very good, so he will understand me. Hyria's words seemed to want to dump all the responsibility on Helena. Helena looked at the princess silently, but at this time the princess said, but anyway, I have a request. I want your constellation artifact Acrux, okay? Helena was a little surprised by the princess's frank proposal, and she certainly could not accept it. Helena replied, I am very sorry, but even if it is the princess, I can't give it. Acrux is an artifact that our family must protect. Please forgive my impoliteness, but I can't obey the order. The princess did not reply after hearing that. She only smiled and looked at Helena. When she saw Helena bowing her head and apologizing, the princess spoke, all right, Duchess, you apologize and want me to forgive you, right? Then I hope that next time you won't refuse my request. And Duchess, do not trust what you are seeing. Princess Hyria suddenly got close to Helena's ear and whispered. She said something that made Helena's eyes widen in shock. With that, the princess left. The next day when the sun was high, Helena was in the office. She was racking her brain about yesterday's issue. Even though a day had passed, she still felt anxious. The princess's last words. Helena could not concentrate on work. Yesterday, the princess whispered a few words in her ear. Duchess, please be careful. A big thing is about to happen in this royal palace. You better think about whether you can be with my brother. Helena still felt goosebumps after remembering. So scary, oh my god, the sister's jealousy. At this time, the crown prince had also arrived at the office. Seeing the uneasy expression on Helena's face, the crown prince asked, "Why do you look so worried? Didn't you know I was coming?" Seeing the crown prince's expression, Helena suddenly remembered. "Oh, there have not been any meetings lately, so I have not seen him for 3 days." The crown prince exaggeratedly praised, "You have been very busy lately, but you look very healthy, Duchess." Helena followed suit and replied, "Yes, it is all thanks to you, your highness." Hearing this, the crown prince became even more unreserved. He directly placed his hand on her forehead and said, "You really do not have a fever anymore, do you?" The crown prince said with a smile, "I missed you so much, Duchess. Even I was so surprised that I could not concentrate on my work." Helena immediately noticed the loophole in the crown prince's words and retorted, "But everything has been completed perfectly. Who are you trying to fool after being discovered?" The crown prince flashed a confident smile. Helena's expression today was different from usual. She did not look directly into the crown prince's eyes but turned away, not talking to him anymore. The crown prince quickly observed this from her. That is why he knew the reason was that Helena was feeling embarrassed. Her ears had turned red. The crown prince noticed this and rejoiced inwardly. His plan seemed to be working. Just then, a servant rushed over to call the crown prince. He said, panting, "Something terrible has happened, there has been a murder in the palace." The crown prince immediately changed his expression and said, "Is it something so urgent that you have to be so flustered?" The servant hesitated and replied, "Well, the body was discovered in His Highness's bedroom." Hearing this, Helena was also shocked. The victim is Marquis Spica. Helena quickly recognized this person. What, this person is the owner of the constellation treasure. The one that Jackal showed her at that time. The servant continued to report, the cause of death was excessive blood loss, along with numerous stab wounds all over the body. Hearing this, Helena's hands and feet went limp. She asked herself, was it Jackal who killed him? The original story also mentioned that he killed the owners of the constellations with the aim of taking the treasures. But finally the servant concluded, "So perhaps you should go and see for yourself, as His Majesty has summoned you." From beginning to end, the crown prince did not show any expression. His face remained as cold as ice. Rodmine also knew the news. He organized his thoughts and said, Marquis Spica was very loyal to the crown prince. He also directly presented the treasure to the crown prince, so it is unlikely that he would be threatened by him. He seems to have a very weak personality, but looking at the events that have happened in the past, that loyalty seems to be genuine. He used the power of the treasure to treat many nobles and said that it was the crown prince's grace. Although his personality is a bit weak, the constellation treasures are not easy to hand over like that, yet now it is in Jackal's hands. Helena was caught up in this headache-inducing train of thought. Helena lay sprawled on her chair, thinking and assessing. He is indeed very loyal, but why was he killed? Jackal is a smart man. There is no way he would cause such a public uproar. Hearing Helena say this, Rodmine frankly replied, "Sometimes, Duchess, you speak as if you have known the crown prince for a long time." After thinking for a long time, Helena put down the paper and declared. Helena said with certainty, "In any case, this is a false accusation. And the emperor is the one who orchestrated this." She immediately argued for her statement. The more Marquis Spica treated nobles with the power of the treasure, the more Jackal's reputation rose, so they had to deal with the Marquis first. In the original story, the emperor constantly harassed and created challenges for Jackal. Just witnessing it firsthand was several cases already, and he had to endure this all along. After that, she woke up Acrux and asked, "Can you find out who killed the owner of the Spica constellation?" The little bird replied, "Wouldn't you just have to ask Spica? The person recognized as the owner will have a conscious link with the treasure, so Spica also saw and felt the moment the owner died. But Spica is very meticulous in choosing an owner, yet now it has lost the owner it had a hard time finding." After listening, Helena called Rodmine. She said excitedly, "Let us play detectives together." Then Helena quickly went to Crown Prince Jackal to talk about this. "You mean the Spica constellation treasure? I heard the Marquis Spica family is on their way here, because the next heir will bring the treasure." Helena asked suspiciously, "Can the heir use the treasure, your highness?" The crown prince replied, "It is Spica's blood, so he probably can, but I did not expect the duchess to be so interested." Are you thinking of befriending the Spica family? I heard the Marquis's younger brother, who is on his way here, is about the same age as me. At that age, would not it be better to choose me? The Crown Prince misunderstood that she had designs on someone from the Spica family. He immediately affirmed his own value. But Helena indifferently did not care about those things. She immediately retorted, I do not care about the Marquis family at all. It is just that my body is not feeling well, so I want to ask if your previous proposal still stands. You said you would use the Spica treasure to treat me. The Crown Prince was surprised by Helena's suggestion. He said, that is unexpected. I thought the Duchess would never ask me for a favor. Helena retorted, actually I have before when you took me out of the warehouse. I will definitely repay you. The Crown Prince seized the opportunity to demand that she repay him with marriage, but Helena naturally refused. She would repay him in another way. After much flirting, Helena remained the same. The Crown Prince sighed. But then he still took out the Spica treasure. Seeing him pull the treasure out of the drawer in his desk, Helena secretly assessed, storing someone else's belongings in your drawer, there is no sincerity at all. The Crown Prince took out the treasure and placed it in Helena's hand. Keep it for now. When the Marquis's heir arrives, I will order him to treat you. Achieving her wish so easily, Helena felt suspicious. She asked in doubt, wait, you are giving it to me, why? The Crown Prince replied with a smile, anyway, it is a useless item now because it does not have an owner. If I keep it, someone will definitely steal it. That is my intention. But they won't think that the Duchess is the one keeping it. Helena immediately retorted, everyone knows I am your assistant on your side. The Crown Prince replied, yes, but my enemies know that I can't trust anyone. Helena held the Spica treasure tightly in her hand. She said again, but if you give it to me, you will also be attacked. The Crown Prince was not afraid at all. He sat down on the chair and said, it is okay. It is better than having it stolen because I am used to being attacked. Looking at the Crown Prince's expression, Helena questioned, Your Highness is accused of being a murderer, and the body is right in your room, which makes things even more difficult for you. Yet you can be so calm. After hearing this, the Crown Prince asked back, so should I cry? And if that is the logic, then the Duchess is standing in front of the murderer and is still not afraid, the Crown Prince said with a chuckle. Helena replied, because you did not kill him. Hearing this sentence from Helena's mouth, the Crown Prince was extremely surprised. He asked, why do you think so? Helena did not answer immediately. She said, if you do not punish me, I will tell the truth. After the Crown Prince agreed, Helena began to recount her thoughts. Your Highness would not do such a foolish thing. Since the age of 8, I have taken on all the paperwork, I have chased after the retinue and collected taxes. So just by looking at the way the files are handled, I know everything from your habits, thoughts, and even your personality. If your Highness has to deal with a political enemy, you will be very careful or use other people, not leaving any evidence, handling it perfectly. Because you will become the emperor in the future, so doing so will not be discovered. The Crown Prince did not expect Helena to say these words. Immediately after, the Crown Prince suddenly laughed and asked, Am I such a wonderful person in the Duchess's eyes? Helena immediately cut off the Crown Prince's thoughts. I just think you are a respectable superior. It is because of work. The Crown Prince looked at Helena with a loving gaze and then he said, I will live up to your expectations, try it. After talking, Helena left the room. In her hand, she held Spica's treasure. She looked at it and thought, I can catch the culprit with this. The sun was high in the sky. Helena quickly carried out her plan. She quickly brought Acrux over and had Acrux examine it. She asked anxiously, how is it? The little bird replied, it is Spica all right. Immediately after, Acrux jumped around to call Spica. After Spica woke up, the little bird asked, are you okay? At this moment, Spica, which was lying in Helena's hand, suddenly flew up. It floated in the air and suddenly glowed. After only a few short seconds, the necklace had turned into a chick, but because it had just woken up after transforming into a chick, Spica fell freely to the ground. Helena hurriedly reached out to catch it. The white fluff in Helena's hand was Spica, Virgo in the 12 constellations. As soon as Spica woke up, its eyes were filled with tears. It cried and called out, Acrux, I have lost my owner, what should I do? Faced with this scene, Helena did not know what to do. She asked Acrux for help, but Acrux only shook its head. But immediately after, it shouted into Helena's ear, you have to coax a crying baby. The two argued again. Helena retorted, a baby. Acrux replied immediately, what else, it is smaller than me. I am ranked 7th and it is ranked 8th. The world of mysterious constellations too. There was no other way. Helena could only gently coax Spica. She hugged the little bird and comforted it. Although she was trying her best, Helena did not believe she could coax the chick. At this moment the chick suddenly spoke. Human, what are you? Your skill at soothing my mood is really good. Spica lamented sadly. I waited for decades before meeting a good owner, yet now I have lost him. Helena also felt Spica's sadness. She remembered her feelings when her parents died. That cry was the sadness of losing someone important. The sunlight became more intense, just like what Helena was doing at this moment. Many rays of hope. Helena said to the chick, Spica, right, I will help you. Then she asked, with the current situation, even if your owner is dead, you can't close your eyes. You witnessed your owner's death, right? Spica replied, that is right. Helena quickly continued, help me find the culprit. I will definitely pay the right price. She reached out her hand, wanting to make a deal with the chick. As soon as Helena's words ended, images of Spica's lost owner immediately appeared. The gentleness that he had brought to Spica's world made it unforgettable. At this moment, Spica's eyes became sparkling. Immediately after, it agreed with Helena. Acrux found a good owner. Okay, I will cooperate with you. Receiving the agreement, Helena immediately got straight to the point. Thank you. Although it may be a bit difficult, can you tell me everything you remember now? Spica sadly recounted. The owner was stabbed by a sword. He died without having time to be treated. Someone covered the owner's body and threw it on the ground. Helena quickly asked further, do you have any impression of the person who stabbed or covered the body? Spica replied, I remember. If I see them again, I will recognize them immediately. After that, Spica described the person who stabbed the owner was wearing a vest, and the person who covered the body was wearing a uniform. Just hearing this, Helena could recognize that the person who covered the body was a knight. She continued to extract more information. Is there any pattern on the clothing? This can help me determine which side this person belongs to. Spica quickly replied, it is a rose, an orange rose. Helena was extremely shocked by this detail. What, the knight with the orange rose symbol is not at the Western Knight, and they are the knights loyal to the princess? Then the person who killed the Marquis and put Jackal in danger is the princess. Helena was very hesitant with this guess of her. No way. If it were the princess, why would she handle things so clumsily? That person is trying to frame both the princess and wants their brothers have a conflict. Right at this moment, the chick suddenly startled and blurted, I remember something. I know this place. The person in uniform took the owner's body and passed by here. While Spica was speaking, two people unexpectedly passed by. It immediately recognized one of the two people and said, passing by like this, is that the person he took the owner's body? One of these two guys is an accomplice with the mastermind. Looking in the distance, really there is people are passing by. Helena also must be surprised with this accuracy. She said to herself, I usually come here, it is a place not many people passes by. If I knew it I should have brings night here, or road mine is fine too. Helena definitely won't miss this golden time. She immediately follow those two. Those two went far away. Helena also quickly move again because she is too focused on those two. Helena bump into a maid. Helena quickly apologize. Are you okay over there? The maid also quickly apologize. At this time, Helena only look up and look at that maid. She quickly recognized this person, the maid that she saved at that time. Helena hurriedly reached to that maid and said, I am really sorry. That girl also really have loyalty. She took all the courage that she has. Then said loudly, thanks you for that time. Helena superficially respond, no need to be like that, but I am kinda busy now. Her eyes are looking to those two people direction. She thought, although this maid is a little suspicious, but right now that is not important. After those words, Helena quickly leave, see her leaving, the expression on that girl face quickly become worried. That girl quickly ask, is there anything I can help Duchess with? I am really sorry, but do you seems chasing those people who just passed by, right? I know who they are. This expression from the maid make Helena a little surprised. She is more perceptive than I thought, just looking at the situation and know what I want to do. Maybe they are from the same group or she have some kind of plot. Just like Jackal already, can't believe in good faith. Even so, Helena still kindly reached to that girl, first get up, the ground is cold. And then Helena asked, then can I receive your help? That maid relied on Helena hand and slowly get up. At this time a hand unexpectedly appear and pull Helena out of that maid's side. Pardon me. Helena immediately lost balance and fall backward. A guy with silver hair appear from the behind and catch her. Helena quickly get up, she look at him with confusion. After that guy speak up, does my sister did something wrong, Duchess? Helena surprised with this word from this guy. Did not expect those two are siblings. Just by looking at him I know he is a noble, but her sister is a maid. What a illogical combination. It is right that in the maid who worked in the palace is born noble, but while thinking, Helena suddenly recognized an important detail. She look at that guy's silver hair. And that guy is also still in the palace now. Helena then realized that guy is a side character in the story, Rain Pollux, from Marquis Pollux family. Rain Pollux, he is the only male lead who is after the female lead, despite Jackal stopping. Different from his cold outer appearance, the more you get closer, you will more discover a stubborn side. He is currently the Marquis Pollux, but the male lead's younger sister is a maid. In reality, Helena was only interested in the confinement between the male lead Jackal and the female lead. All of her attention was focused on the two main characters. As for the male lead, she only remembered that Helena ruffled her hair but could not remember anything else. Helena was curious about what the young man had been doing alone here all this time. At this moment the maid spoke, breaking the silence. Brother, I do not know what you are thinking, but it is all a misunderstanding. The Duke helped me. You know that. This girl is Lena Pollux, from the Marquis Pollux family. For that reason, Lena resolutely said, so I want to help the Duke too. She was distracted by meeting these two Pollux siblings. Helena now suddenly remembered what she needed to do the night. She quickly glanced back to where he had been, but of course he had disappeared. She said disappointedly, I missed the opportunity. Hearing Helena say that, Lena quickly said, don't worry, I know where they went. Let me lead the way. The little girl was immediately gagged by her brother. There was a conflict in their positions. They both turned to argue, lead the way, don't point the way. What are you saying, don't hinder me? They both argued without giving way. As the person standing between them, Helena chuckled. Then she sighed and said, calm down. I do not think I have heard you introduce yourself yet. The girl immediately introduced herself. My name is Lena Pollux. Hello, Duke. Without Helena needing to ask, Lena explained immediately, because I was kicked out of the family, I do not often use my surname. Thank you for helping me. This detail of being kicked out helped Helena recall a bit more about the novel. Helena wondered. He had a dead younger sister, right? In the original story, Rain Pollux once said to her sister, Callisto, sometimes looking at you reminds me of my deceased younger sister. This does not match the present situation. The person in front of her is his younger sister. But then Helena immediately realized that this girl was the one who was going to die. Helena did not completely believe in the original story. She continued to think about things related to the present. There is no way the Emperor does not know the Pollux family, so is Baron Podex taking Lena away a plot by the Emperor. The Pollux family also belongs to the constellation families, so if she had not happened to be there and stopped it, the one who died could have been Lena. And the one who died this time was Marquis Spica, the owner of the treasure, who threw the Marquis's body into Jackal's room to frame him. It is the Emperor, the one related to the treasures of the constellations. Because if Lena died, Jackal and Rain would become enemies. Could it be that, in the original story, they became mortal enemies because it was related to this younger sister? Because of this speculation, Helena could not ignore it. Helena thought for a moment and then asked Lena again, so can you tell me where they went? Without giving Lena a chance to answer Helena's question, Rain Pollux refused. I have no intention of letting my sister get involved in these suspicious matters. Lena angrily bit her brother's hand. Even without Rain's approval, Helena politely asked him, what should I call you then? Rain replied, you can call me Mr. Pollux. As soon as she knew how to address him, Helena changed her tone and said, okay, Mr. Pollux. Did I ask you? Can't Lena express her own thoughts? If not, are you disrespecting me? Hearing this, an old saying suddenly appeared in Rain's mind, nothing like a woman. Immediately after, he changed his mind and said, that is not it. I was wrong. I won't stop you anymore, but instead can I do it together? Helena was a little surprised by Rain Pollux's offer. Although this request was a bit strange, thinking about how she had given so many tasks to Roadmine, she could not bear to give him more. Therefore, Helena decided to accept Rain's offer. She smiled and said, okay, let us go back first. On the way back to the room, Helena said again, if you want to come along, you have to sign a contract. Rain asked suspiciously what contract. Helena quickly explained, just a promise to keep a secret no matter what you see later. Rain replied immediately, that is not difficult, but are you going to make my sister keep quiet like this? Helena replied, no, unlike those who were rude from the beginning, my first impression of Lena is that she is very trustworthy. Then she suggested a little more. I would be very happy if you used the treasure to swear, for example, the Spica treasure. When using the treasure to make a vow, the constellation families will not be able to break that vow. This is very important. It seemed like a very difficult thing, but no, Rain immediately agreed. Helena was a little surprised by Rain's easygoing attitude. She wondered, is it that easy? I did not think he would help me so easily. What exactly is his purpose? So the three of them decided to start and meet again tomorrow. After the two of them left, Helena immediately called Acrux and asked, Acrux, is that guy really the owner of the constellation? The little bird replied, yes. He is the owner of the Gemini Pollux constellation. But Pollux is not nearby. Castor too, a new name appeared again. Acrux quickly explained, that is Pollux's twin brother. The Gemini treasure has two individuals. The next day, early in the morning, Helena and Rain Pollux started their plan. She stood lurking behind the wall and observed. Rain looked at her and said, this place is no longer in use. The second night division that was originally in this place has moved out. And as far as I know, this place will be demolished in a week to build a new building. Inside there are only two suspects that they are following. Helena whispered to Spica, which ones? Spica immediately pointed out the culprit. It is the smiling knight. Having found the enemy, Helena quickly turned to Rain for help. Mr. Pollux, Helena said sincerely, can you subdue him, the one with dark blue hair and green eyes? The distance of contact between the two people at this time was a little close, causing Rain Pollux to suddenly have a strange feeling. Rain paused for a few seconds before speaking. You mean subdue them all? Helena quickly said the plan. No, we have to chase after him from behind and subdue him. We will fight and kidnap him. Rain Pollux, after listening, could only exclaim, please. He completely did not understand what Helena wanted to do. Rain's expression immediately changed from cold to chilling. He asked suspiciously, what the hell are you talking about? I was wondering why you separated my sister, so it is for this reason. Lena was waiting in the bushes at this time. Helena put on a disappointed expression and questioned. Have you never come up with a plan? Rain did not answer her question. He asked back, why are you doing this? Looking at this expression of Rain Pollux, Helena clicked her tongue in annoyance. Your growing environment is too good, unlike me who has been arguing with subordinates since I was 9 years old. Failing to persuade him, Helena had to carry out the plan alone. Fine, if you do not want to help, then leave, do not hinder me. Just as Helena was about to follow that guy, Rain suddenly grabbed her hand and asked, wait, if I leave, what will you do? Helena replied very confidently, I also have something to believe in. After the Baron's incident, she had secretly arranged bodyguards, and there was also Acrux. Helena was not afraid that anything would happen to her. Even though she had finished speaking, Rain still refused to let go of her hand. Helena had no choice but to add, but Mr. Pollux, you hold women's hands very skillfully, huh? Is that your hobby? Being pointed out so frankly by Helena, Rain Pollux was startled. He awkwardly retracted his hand and hurriedly explained, I did not mean anything. It is just a bodily reaction. Hearing this, Helena could not help but tease him a little more. You mean you have held women's hands so much that it has become familiar now? Rain Pollux was indeed a typical good boy. He blushed after being teased only a few times. He hurriedly turned his back and said, that is not it. I'm sorry. Looking at this expression of his, Helena replied very smugly, okay, I will accept the apology. Immediately after, Rain Pollux said, I will help you. Be obedient and help, so let us go together. I always keep my word. Helena looked at him with some suspicion. Then she asked, is it because you took out the treasure to swear? Rain did not deny it. He replied, wasn't that what you ordered? No matter what, Rain Pollux now had to help Helena. She said obsequiously, you are so kind. I do not hate people like that. Then Helena intimately touched Rain's hand and said, let us go. This series of actions of hers could not help but cause misunderstandings. Rain Pollux was blushing because of her words. He said shyly, you are the Crown Prince's lover. After that, the two continued to carry out the plan. They both followed the knight from before. After observing for a while, the knight finally moved. Helena hurriedly said, hey, the target is moving. Follow him. The two transformed into branches and followed behind the knight. Not only branches but anything that could cover Helena was used to hide. After following for a while, the two arrived at the next stopping point of that guy. Rain and Helena quickly found a place to ambush. The knight entered the room where other knights were also there. In just an instant, Rain helped Helena deal with all 4 knights. The knight with dark blue hair was also knocked unconscious and lay on the ground. Helena quickly sat down to check. She secretly assessed Rain's strength, too amazing, defeating 4 royal knights in just a moment. After dealing with the small fries, Rain Pollux dusted off his hands. Then he turned around and asked, is it okay to do it like this? Helena immediately gave him a thumbs up, well done. He asked again, so what do we do now? Helena replied, I am thinking about it. Where should we interrogate him? At this time, Helena summoned Spica again. Then she asked, you and Acrux can communicate, right? Spica replied, yes. Hearing the name Spica, Rain Pollux was extremely surprised. He asked in shock, You can see the star constellation treasure spirit that does not belong to your family. Rain Pollux had never seen such a case before. He could not believe his eyes. Faced with this question from Rain, Helena secretly struggled with her thoughts. This truth must not be revealed outside. But since I have already taken out the treasure to swear, it should be okay, right? Then I will just say it slowly. Immediately after, Helena suddenly stood up and approached Rain. She smiled and said, "Please help me." Rain Pollux hurriedly avoided her. His expression was both panicked and dazed. He did not understand what she was talking about. Helena quickly pointed to the night and continued, "You said you would help me, right? It all depends on you." At this time, Rain understood her intention. He frowned. "What, this woman? But why am I thought I was just helping to fight." After capturing the suspect, Helena returned to the study. She worked and thought at the same time. The interrogation had to be completed in the afternoon. While Helena was working, Rain had to sit and guard the night. Although he was very dissatisfied, he could not do anything about it. As for Lena, the little girl decided to stay here. Seeing her standing there all the time, Helena spoke, "Lena, just sit down." Although Helena had the intention, Lena was still determined with her intention. She replied, "No, I am confident that I can stand." Looking at Lena's fascinated expression at this time, Helena wondered, why exactly is she putting on that expression? But that could not waste her time to care. Helena told herself, "Quickly finish the work. Suddenly today, there is work that can't be postponed. In fact, I just need to throw it aside. But I can't because she is the type of person with a high sense of responsibility, so if she throws them aside, she will feel very uncomfortable and uneasy." Currently, she and Crown Prince Jackal are on the same boat. That is why she wanted to help the Crown Prince find the culprit who framed him. She decided to do it until she was kicked out. Even if she was riding a good horse, she had to go home. At this time, the Crown Prince finally arrived at the office. As soon as Jackal arrived, he sent a loving call to Helena, "My love." He walked over brightly and asked, "Are you still well?" Helena was still as cold as ever and replied, "I was very well before your highness arrived." The Crown Prince was now used to this way of speaking of hers. He smiled. Looking at Helena's desk, the Crown Prince asked again, "Are you busy?" Helena replied, "Yes, I am busy." Although he knew she was busy, the Crown Prince still liked to talk to her. He asked with a smile, "You submitted a leave application from tomorrow, right?" Although Helena was uncomfortable, she still had to politely respond, "Thank you for giving me leave, but even if the Crown Prince does not agree, Helena will still take leave." He had given her such freedom. After hearing this, the Crown Prince immediately demanded to change the rules, but before he could say anything, his attention shifted to the new maid. The Crown Prince asked in surprise, "I have never seen this maid before. Did the Duke bring her?" As if seizing the opportunity to change the subject, Helena quickly replied, "Yes, I especially like her, so I will keep her by my side for a while." "Compared to that, Your Highness, I have something to ask." Today, Helena was suddenly unusually proactive. She reached out and touched the Crown Prince's hand. The Crown Prince happily accepted and asked, "What is it?" Helena immediately asked, "How close are you to the princess?" Receiving the question, the Crown Prince suddenly became silent for a moment before replying, "Quite close." Helena seemed to sense the strangeness in the Crown Prince's words, but she still tried to stay calm and responded, "I see. Then the princess can't fall into a difficult situation." The Crown Prince sat down on the chair and continued to chat with Helena. "It is strange, you say it as if I am going to get into trouble." As expected, the Crown Prince's senses are very sharp. Even so, Helena did not admit it. She said, "You heard it like that, huh? You misunderstood." Regardless of whether there was someone there, the Crown Prince was still very natural. Lena was full of dog food. At this time, the Crown Prince suddenly changed his position. He approached her and said, "Don't do useless things." The Crown Prince gently stroked Helena's hair. "I would be very sad if the Duke was injured." Do I need to say it more clearly? With such a close distance, the Crown Prince's beauty quickly captivated Helena. The Crown Prince looked at her affectionately and said, "I do not want to see you get hurt again." Hearing these sweet words of the Crown Prince, Helena no longer felt chills down her spine. Instead, she had a new expression. Helena was now blushing. She shyly did not dare to look at the Crown Prince. "It is this trick again, but why am I so nervous? I am going crazy." Helena quickly regained her reason. "I can't let the vision in my heart take over my thoughts. Get a hold of yourself. This thing can't be eaten. Eating it will surely kill you." Then, Helena hurriedly pushed the Crown Prince away and said, "Yes, I will pay attention. As an assistant, I won't bother you." The Crown Prince was still determined to block Helena's path to the end. He continued to flirt, It would be great if you were not an assistant but my lover. Helena was still 100% dodging the flirt. I have to focus on work. This dialogue of the two of them made Lena very interested. She watched this love scene of the two of them very attentively. After teasing for a while, the crown prince finally returned to his workplace. Only then did Lena come over and whisper to Helena, as rumored, "You two are indeed a passionate couple." Helena immediately denied, "It is not like that." Next, time gradually passed. It was already afternoon. It was time to leave work. Helena quickly stood up and said, "I will go first. I have finished today's schedule." Seeing Helena preparing to leave, the crown prince also stopped. He put down his pen and stood up. Jackal also intended to leave. Helena wondered, "Where are you going?" The crown prince replied calmly, "Where does the duke want to go? Then I will follow there. Take me with you. I am very bored." Helena refused without hesitation. "No, I want to go back to my room. Do you understand?" After saying that, she turned around and left. Lena also bowed and quickly ran after Helena. With no way to follow Helena, the crown prince could only silently stand with his arms crossed, watching her back gradually leave. Helena quickly left the crown prince's sight. Then she immediately summoned Acrux. The little bird quickly appeared. There was not much time left. Helena went straight to the main point. "Can you sense the traces of humans?" Acrux waved its wings and replied, "Yes, I am a weapon based on martial power." At this time, Helena suddenly asked Acrux in a whisper, "Then can you sense the traces of the crown prince?" Acrux replied, "You mean that red-haired guy?" "I can't sense it." Hearing Acrux's words, Helena finally dared to breathe a sigh of relief. After that, Helena returned to her room with peace of mind. Rain Pollux was still here. Seeing him, Helena smiled and said, "You really kept your promise. Thank you, Mr. Pollux." Although Pollux was still there guarding the night, his expression showed no willingness at all. At this moment, Roadmine spoke up as well, "The Duke has arrived." Helena then said, "Roadmine, you must be tired too. But Lord Pollux, why does your face look so uncomfortable?" Hearing Helena's words, Rain Pollux completely exploded. He angrily shouted at Helena, "Am I supposed to be comfortable in the Duke's bedroom?" Rain Pollux was not only angry but also blushed deeply. Helena did not pay much attention to him, but she still politely replied, "Is that so?" Helena walked over and patted Rain on the shoulder, saying, "You have worked hard. I will be sure to repay you." After a cumbersome greeting, the important step finally arrived. The knight had been waiting in that tied-up position for so long. Helena looked at him with interest and said, "Then, let us begin the interrogation." Then she turned to her aide and asked, "Roadmine, are you ready?" Roadmine replied, "Duke, you do not need to worry, because I have brought experienced people here." With Roadmine's introduction, 2 people, 1 male and 1 female, immediately stepped forward. At this moment, Helena remembered something she had not told Rain. "Ah, have you greeted my aides yet?" She smiled and said, "You are not alone, so you must feel less worried, right?" Rain Pollux really wanted to say he was not, but he could not, so he decided to remain silent. Enough with the pleasantries. The main task is ready. In an instant, Helena's expression changed completely. She glared and ordered, "Well then, let us begin." The 2 people who were called quickly carried out their tasks, and the ropes binding the knight were loosened a bit. The quickest way to make the interrogation most effective is torture, but Helena did not choose that cruel method. She chose a gentler way using magic. Rain was very surprised by Helena's method. He thought to himself, how unexpected. I did not think the Acrux family would have a mage. Mages have very high self-esteem, so they do not want to serve nobles. Even the royal family does not have many. But here there are 2 people, so they have enough reason to confidently interrogate. Helena observed the interrogation and thought, thanks to my subordinates, I have heard. And I have enough evidence. As expected, the emperor intends to cause discord between Jackal and the princess. After the interrogation was over, Helena summoned Spica. This man is one of the people who killed your master. What should I do with him? Spica angrily flapped its wings. Then it jumped onto Helena's shoulder and asked, "Can you lend me your power?" Helena replied, "Of course." "Then what should I do?" Before Spica could deal with the damned man, a knock suddenly echoed, followed by the crown prince's familiar words, "My love, are you in the room?" Outside, Jackalanthos called out, "Are you in the room?" Helena Acrux inside was so frightened that her face changed color. He did not receive a reply, so he opened the door and entered. "Let me come in for a moment." The door to the room quickly opened. Jackalanthos went inside and observed everything around him. Helena Acrux tried to calmly ask, "Is something the matter?" Seeing her so cold, Jackal Anthos immediately said, "Do I need a reason to see you? I am worried about my aide who left work early today." He lowered his voice and asked her caringly, "Are you in pain somewhere?" Helena Acrox still tried to keep her voice as normal as possible as she replied, "Thank you, but I am fine." Jackal still did not intend to leave and turned his head to look around the room. Helena Acrox looked at him like that and thought to herself, "I have to get him out of here quickly." At this moment, Jackal Anthos suddenly spoke, "Let me stay inside for a while." Helena Acrox, seeing that she could not stop him, frantically used telepathy, "Road mine." The other party immediately received the order, "Yes." Road mine on the other side immediately used magic to conceal everything so that Jackal Anthos would not discover it. Helena Acrox was still worried. "I have used magic, but it can't be maintained for long." Helena Acrox tried to distract him, but he seemed to have noticed something. "You see, Your Highness, I am very well, so do you have anything urgent? If not, I want to rest a little." Jackal Anthos noticed the sword that had fallen on the floor and immediately asked, "Then what is that?" Helena Acrox turned around and looked in panic, crying out in her heart, "Oh no." She tried to make up a reasonable excuse. "What is so strange about having a sword in the Duke's room?" Jackal Anthos agreed, but his next words left her speechless. "That is right, but why did it fall on the floor?" He smiled and continued, "Duke, I thought you were my person." Helena Acrox retorted, "Since when?" Jackal Anthos came closer and said sincerely, "When is not important. What is important is that I value you very much." Helena Acrox did not know how to respond to his words. Jackal Anthos leaned close to her ear and said, "So I hope you do not hide anything from me." Hearing these words, she unconsciously clenched her arm tighter. She thought to herself, how scary. "But I do not intend to tell him. I do not want to be noticed too much because the family has 2 mages." Jackal Anthos called out, "Duke." Helena Acrox hesitantly replied, "Yes." He suddenly smiled and said, "You are not allowed to cheat on me, okay? And if you want to learn swordsmanship, just come to me." Jackal Anthos lightly kissed the back of her hand. "There is no man more skilled than me." Then he turned and left. "You look too tired, so I will go. See you tomorrow." After Jackal Anthos left, Road Mine sighed in relief as if a burden had been lifted. "Phew, I thought we were going to be discovered." Pollux silently looked at her as if he was thinking about something. Helena Acrox was silent after Jackal Anthos left. After an unknown amount of time, she spoke, "Thank you for your help, Lord Pollux. If you need help next time, just tell me. I will definitely repay you." But Pollux was still silent, which made her feel a little strange. After a while, the other party spoke, "Duke, are you and the Crown Prince really in a passionate relationship as the rumors say?" Helena Acrox felt like she had been struck by lightning when she heard these words. "Why are you bringing that up?" Pollux calmly replied. "Those rumors are very famous." Helena Acrox was silent for a long time after hearing that. Then she slowly said, "It is not true. I also feel very uncomfortable hearing those rumors. And it is true, His Highness does things that are easily misunderstood, but it is not like that." Pollux asked again, "Are you sure?" Helena Acrox answered without hesitation, "Of course." "But so what?" Pollux immediately replied, "It is nothing." He softly said, "I will remember this repayment. I hope you will keep your word." Helena Acrox did not think much and immediately replied, "Of course." Time passed quickly, and now it was the next day. Helena Acrox said seriously, "I have something to say." Jackal Anthos also sat there seriously listening to her. "What do you want to say?" Helena Acrox seemed to be thinking about something and did not speak immediately. Seeing this, Jackal Anthos said, "Just say it." But she hesitated a bit. "It is a bit difficult to say here." Finally, she decided to say it, "Can you come with me to a place?" Just like that, Jackal Anthos was led by Helena Acrox to a certain place. He looked at the unfamiliar scenery around him and could not help but be curious. "This is." She immediately spoke up to explain, "This is one of the warehouses that Acrox borrowed from the royal family." After finishing speaking, she snapped her fingers once to signal. Immediately, the entire space lit up. In front of them were 2 men tied up and 2 guards standing by. Helena Acrox immediately said, "Your Highness, this man is one of those who dared to frame you." Jackal Anthos turned to look at her with many thoughts in his heart. Helena Acrox also looked at him with determination. He clearly knew this man. He must have realized what happened yesterday, but he still ignored it and said nothing. Because this is the way that he checks a person. Jackal Anthos turned to look at that person and slowly asked, "Ah, so someone wants to put the blame for murder on me and he is the one who did it?" Helena Acrox answered firmly, "Yes, that is right." However, at this time he asked in return, "How did the Duke know that?" Helena Acrox also did not hesitate to say, "On the day I was locked in the warehouse, I heard the knights talking about this. But in fact she always knew. She was lying. Helena Acrux continued, I do not know if it is because they wanted to get rid of me, but they revealed many secret plans. Jackal Anthos asked doubtfully, then why did not you tell me earlier? She also calmly replied, because I was not sure. She continued, and I thought that this might cause conflict between me and your highness. But now I feel very regretful. Jackal Anthos continued to interrogate, if I was really framed, then why did you tell me? Wouldn't it be beneficial for the Duke if I encountered difficulties? He chuckled and said, you can return to your beloved home. I know very well that you do not want to be by my side for long. How could I not realize that? Helena Acrux also did not hesitate to admit, you are right, but I think what I am doing is right. Jackal Anthos listened very attentively, so you only said it because you thought it was right. That concept is quite unfamiliar to me. Jackal Anthos chuckled and said, you are doing it because you think it is right. That concept is quite unfamiliar to me. Helena Acrux sighed and thought, that is right, he is the future tyrant. At this time Jackal Anthos pointed at that person and said, very well, so that is a gift for me. He cheerfully smiled and said, how nice it would be if he was unconscious. Helena Acrux coldly said, don't even dream about it. Jackal Anthos laughed and said, you are too much. To this extent it is no different from you proposing to me. After finishing speaking, his face suddenly turned red with embarrassment. The guard there saw it and immediately whispered, the Duke is dating, it must be true. As expected of the rumors. Helena Acrux, hearing this, cursed inwardly, these guys are not like that. She turned her face away with a bit of annoyance, the knights of my family are looking over here, so do not joke around anymore. And I am not giving you anything for free. Jackal Anthos chuckled and continued, oh dear, I heard you say it was a gift to me. Was I deceived? So what do you want? His face immediately froze when he heard her say, resignation. She said to him very seriously, let me resign if I want to. Just the permission from your highness is enough, right? Jackal Anthos gave a bitter smile, very well. Then he quickly went to. He came forward and picked up a strand of her hair and said, but you have to stay here for at least 3 months. Helena Acrux thought in her heart, I will endure until my sister returns. She said to the other party decisively, yes, I agree. Jackal Anthos was overjoyed to hear that, I will happily accept this gift. But the next second, his expression changed quickly. How I use it is none of your business, right? She immediately replied yes. At this time, Helena Acrux looked at the captured man. Suddenly Jackal Anthos spoke again, but I have something to say to you, Duke. See you again in a few days. I will take some time off. Helena was a little sad and thought in her heart, I do not want to hear it. But on the surface she still obeyed, yes I know. Time passed quickly and soon it was a few days later. The person who killed Marquis Spica has been caught. The culprit is Viscount Castu. Originally this family had a previous grudge. Helena Acrux speculated, could it be that they are just puppets? The stain on Jackal has disappeared, which means that Jackal has won the war between the Emperor and him. And the night that I handed over to Jackal has disappeared without a trace. Even though I did not want to. Anyway, I have to know his whereabouts, but I still have to ask. That is because of Spica. Anyway, I have to return Spica. Is it okay to hand it back to Jackal? She hesitated a little in her heart. Would Jackal gently return it to the heir of the Spica family? In her head appeared the image of him laughing mockingly. Haha, it has fallen into my hands, so it is mine. Helena Acrux was a little worried again. Or will Spica be trapped in the chain until it meets the next master? This is not the only thing I have to think about. Even though I am not the master of Acrux. But I can still talk because I am the Duke of Acrux. So why can I talk to Spica? She remembered Rain being very surprised. You saw the form of a treasure that does not belong to your family, Helena Acrux thought. Even Rain was surprised, so that is not normal. At this time, a thought suddenly popped into Helena Acrux's head. Could it be? I can also talk to other treasures. She helplessly thought, I do not know because there is no such content in the original work. She softly called Acrux. At this time Acrux appeared and said, there is no one here, which made her a little helpless. Helena Acrux leaned close and whispered to it, Acrux, can you talk to me with your thoughts? Acrux immediately replied, of course, as long as the body is still listening. Helena Acrux said with satisfaction, very good. She quickly asked, do you know why I can understand what Spica is saying? Acrux immediately replied, I do not know. I have never seen this, except for the first master. Acrux then said, perhaps the reason is your soul. Helena Acrux was very surprised after hearing that soul. Acrux's words made her fall into contemplation. She kept thinking, is the Pollux family's treasure in the hands of the Marquis? If I knew this, everything would be clearer. At this time, Jackal Anthos suddenly appeared and called out, "You have been waiting for a long time, right?" She immediately replied no. At this time he said, "Ah, the princess wants to send a thank you to the duke." She was a little dazed after hearing that. The princess, Jackal Anthos immediately replied yes. She asked in a daze why. Jackal Anthos smiled and said, "Let us see, maybe it is because she found out the truth that someone was trying to put the blame on me." She was stunned and thought in her heart, did Jackal tell her? They are very close, are not they? She forced out a smile and said, "I know." But in her heart she thought, maybe I have to try harder so that I am not targeted by the princess. Jackal Anthos said slowly, "I said before that I had something to tell you, right?" She immediately replied yes. He continued, "I discovered this while working with you for the past 3 months." Hearing this, she sighed in her heart, time has passed so quickly. How fast. Finally he concluded with a comment, "You are very beautiful. Confident, intelligent, and quick-witted." He came forward and lifted her chin. "I do not meet many people who satisfy me, but usually they fall into one of 2 categories. One is an enemy and the other is mine." Her hand unconsciously clenched the edge of the table and thought, "Is he proposing to recruit me?" She said hesitantly. "If your highness asks me to stand on your side." Jackal Anthos immediately retorted, "No, I do not mean that." He said very affectionately, "Become my lover." She did not know what to say after hearing these words. Yes, she suspiciously thought in her heart, is he joking as usual? Even knowing that, I am still attracted. This face is really not good. Moreover, because I have not seen his tyrant image many times, I have been careless. She suspiciously thought, could it be because I did not choose the path of being imprisoned? She slowly said. She just said, "I do not know what you are talking about. I refuse." Jackal Anthos said very firmly, "I am speaking from the heart." At this time she thought, it seems he is not joking. Jackal Anthos got even closer to her. "Duke, I need my own lover." Helena Acrox said in confusion, "Need? What are you saying?" He did not hesitate to admit, "Yes, I need a cute lover who can be willing to endure imprisonment." Helena Acrox's eyes widened in shock. But the next second, she angrily cursed in her heart, "What is this crazy guy talking about? Lover? He must want me to pretend to be his lover to fool the emperor. Because for this man, who even uses love in the original work, this is entirely possible. This is not a sincere word, so it is also acceptable. But I can't. If I become this man's lover, then I will be threatened by the emperor. I am not a talented knight like my sister. No matter how smart I am just a weakling. I can't die until I meet my sister again." Helena Acrox tried to stay calm and said, "Judging by your expression, it seems you won't accept a refusal, right?" Jackal Anthos surprisingly asked, "You understand my intentions even better than I. Do myself, I am sorry, but I probably can't accept this offer." At this time she asked, "Why do not you try to please His Majesty in another way?" He listened very attentively to her. "Don't you need a lover to fool His Majesty? Jackal is under a lot of supervision and pressure from the emperor. If it were a normal person, they probably would not be able to endure it and would go crazy." At this time he asked, "What will the Duke do for me?" She smiled and said, "I will give you power to help you fool the emperor." Jackal Anthos seemed to understand her intention after hearing that. He asked, "Do you mean Acrox will stand on my side?" Helena Acrox did not dare to promise. "I am not sure about that. But is not money needed to do anything?" She thought in her heart, "Jackal's power can't compare to the emperor's, and I know what he is lacking." She confidently guaranteed, "I will solve the financial problem. I am very good at collecting taxes, you know. Let us go back to the past and see how I got the territory I have today. Uncle Robson McDowell, who adopted my sister and me, was an excellent knight recognized by everyone. He was the deputy commander of the night squad protecting the front lines. But the problem here is, he could not manage the territory. Corrupt people were rampant everywhere, making the people of the territory always try to endure, and famine began to occur." Robson McDowell said helplessly, What is territory management anyway? Should I just kill the corrupt people at this time?" The young Helena Acrox said seriously. "If you act so extremely, my sister won't like it. Aren't you thinking about my sisters and my feelings? Please think before you act. Thanks to you, I know about the affairs of a knight, but that is all." Robson McDowell looked on from the side and just smiled helplessly. "It is the opposite direction, child. Seems a bit serious." Helena Acrox had decided since she was young, "I am the only one who can save the territory." A land ravaged by famine, making farming difficult, but the neighboring territories were prosperous. At that time she had the thought, so, I will build a casino imitating foreign countries. Next I need talent. She saw a boy on the street and thought, a mage, I definitely have to snatch him. Helena Acrox said very confidently, "Become my subordinate." After gathering a sum of money from the casino and personally recruiting talented people, I established my own organization and used that power to defeat the corrupt people. She was very imposing at that time. Helena seriously eliminates the corrupt people, then took back the money from them. It was not until after my sister left that the conflict between me and the corrupt people ended. At that time she announced loudly, "From now on, I will appoint you as the river tax collection team. Go and catch them all." The subordinates seriously received the order, yes. At that time she only thought, because I do not want to show my cold image to my sister. She coldly watched the people in prison begging, their families asking her to at least spare their family. Please, at this moment she secretly marveled. It was fortunate that before going to Jackal, she had uprooted everything. Helena Acrux silently pondered her past. After a while she spoke, "Your Highness, I know that under your command there is something called the Tax Bureau. Even though it is a tax collection organization, has not it become nameless due to the obstruction of His Majesty? That is where the Emperor entrusted the Crown Prince to reduce his power, but did not allow this organization to work. Outsiders will think that Jackal is incompetent, unable to even collect taxes." She calmly continued, "You have no feelings for me, and neither do I for you, so I will give you what I can, as long as you allow me to resign at any time." However, after she finished speaking, Jackal Anthos laughed. He crossed his arms and said, "You seem very confident. Can you prove it? I only believe what I see with my own eyes." Helena Acrux immediately replied, "Of course, then from tomorrow, can you let me work at the Tax Bureau?" Jackal Anthos then said, "I want to say a few things." Helena Acrux quickly agreed, "Okay." He quickly stated his condition, "I will give you 3 months instead." Jackal Anthos happily exclaimed, "If you do not achieve results within 3 months, then you must obey my request." She secretly sighed in her heart. Is it a request or an order? Helena Acrux slowly said, "Yes, okay." Helena Acrux thought to herself, if I do not want to become this guy's lover and have my head shaved by the Emperor, then I must work hard. She suddenly remembered something. "That is right, now that I think about it, I will return the spica treasure that you lent me." Jackal Anthos refused immediately. "No, just keep it." Helena Acrux was a little surprised. "Okay." He explained the reason to her. "It is not yet determined who the heir of the spica family is, and I do not want to keep it." Jackal Anthos slowly continued, "I quite respect the late former Marquis." Hearing this, she frowned and thought, someone without blood and tears like him is like that. Helena Acrux asked, "Your Highness, do you know about other treasures?" He asked suspiciously, "Why do you ask?" Jackal Anthos then asked back, "It is not that I do not know, but what are you curious about?" She avoided answering, "Oh, I just want to see the other treasures." Seeing this, he asked, "Do you want me to help you find out?" She smiled and replied, "No need." At this moment, Helena Acrux thought to herself, I wonder how much he will ask for in return when he helps. Jackal Anthos was stunned when he heard her say, "Because someone has already helped me. I only accept your kindness." Seeing that he did not answer, Helena Acrux bowed politely, "Then I will go first." After she left, the room returned to its original silence. Jackal Anthos did not say anything for a long time. He just stood there silently looking in the direction she had just left. At the same time, in a luxurious castle somewhere, suddenly, a girl with short hair tiptoed out from behind the half-open door. Brother. The person sitting inside the room was Pollux. He was deep in thought, seemingly thinking about something. Lena brought a cup of tea and gently said, "Have some tea, brother." Pollux called out, "Lena." Pollux asked his sister, "Does Duke Acrux have a fiancé?" Lena was caught off guard by the sudden question and was very surprised. "Yes, no, probably not as far as I know." "Why do you ask?" Pollux hesitated a little. "It is just." The image of Helena Acrux appeared in his mind. Pollux smiled and said, "I think I can try." That is right, but somewhere, the person in question was immersed in sleep. Very quickly, it was the next morning. The bright sunlight shone everywhere. Helena Acrux was very happy. "Hello, Mr. Pollux." Pollux also politely replied, "Yes, hello." He was a little surprised by her appearance. "I did not know you would come here." Helena Acrux immediately said, "Yes, because today I have a 3-day leave. Thank you for accepting my request to meet." At this moment, she thought to herself, Jackal gave me 3 days off before going to work at the Tax Bureau. Perhaps there is something being hidden on the side of the Tax Bureau. It is not a problem anyway. Pollux hesitated a little and said, "So, the reason you came here is?" Helena Acrux smiled and replied, "I have a few things I want to say. First, I want Lena to officially become my personal maid." Hearing this, Pollux felt strange and asked, "Are you talking about my sister? Why is that?" She very naturally asked, "Yes, it seems that the other servants do not know Lena's true identity. Is that right, Lena?" The other party had to admit, "Oh yes." Lena's eyes became sad, "Because I was kicked out of the house." However, Helena Acrux affirmed, Even if you were kicked out, you are still the Marquis's daughter. You are qualified to be a maid, and I do not have a personal maid yet. Pollux then chimed in, if my sister agrees, then I have no objections, but if that is the case, then will the Pollux family stand on the Crown Prince's side? Helena Acrux quickly corrected, no, that is your right. Didn't the family kick Lena out already? Then this has nothing to do with the family. Lena listened attentively to her words. I only asked like this out of courtesy. Lena is very close to you. Hearing this, Pollux sighed helplessly, I know. If my sister likes it, then I won't object, but did you come here only for this matter? Helena Acrux was caught off guard and was a little embarrassed. No, that is not it. Then she finally said, I do not know if you are keeping the Pollux treasure. He quickly said, of course I have it. She then made a request, can you show it to me? Pollux felt strange and asked, that is not difficult, but why? Helena Acrux was silent for a moment before saying, no, it is nothing. She thought to herself, I have been discovered to be able to talk to Spica, but I still do not know if I should tell him straight away or not. There is no way, we have only known each other for less than 3 months. She stood up disappointedly and prepared to leave. I have said everything I needed to say, so I will go now. Pollux frowned, confused by her expression. Just as she turned to leave, he called out, Duke. He approached Helena Acrux. You said that you have no relationship with the Crown Prince. But there are rumors in the royal palace that the two of you are lovers. Pollux sincerely asked, don't you find it troublesome? The other party's words really made her think, it is true that I feel unhappy, but I have heard Jackal talk about this to the point of being fed up. It is too late to turn back now, so I should run away before the Emperor kills me. Pollux also suggested, if you need help, just tell me. Helena Acrux blankly asked why. Pollux's reason was very convincing, because you are the master of my sister. He blushed and tried to finish speaking, so it is only natural that I want to make a good impression, right? Time passed quickly, and soon it was the next day. Helena Acrux looked up at the luxurious building in front of her and thought to herself, this is the tax bureau. Through the window she could see a few figures standing there. They were all watching her closely. Soon someone greeted Helena Acrux, please come in, Duke. The man sitting on the chair introduced himself. I am Kaman Lysar, the general manager of the tax bureau. Next was the long-haired man next to him. And this is the deputy manager, Den. She listened attentively to the other party. I have heard the Crown Prince said, you are here to support the work here, right? But at this moment, he sneered contemptuously. But what to do, your coming here like this is useless. We do not need help from the Duke. Helena Acrux looked at his punchable face and angrily thought, what, this guy? Looks so arrogant. At this, she remembered Jackal's words, it won't be easy, Duke. I support you. Kaman Lysar continued, our tax bureau is already perfect. Adding more manpower is of no help at all. You are just being an obstacle. Besides, you are so young, you probably can't do anything useful. She said nothing and remained silent, listening to the other party. Seeing this, he took advantage and continued, so, just leave the tax bureau to us or you can go have some tea. He laughed and continued, I was also planning to introduce you to my daughter. Meanwhile, she thought to herself, this guy is definitely the Emperor's man, and seems to know nothing about politics. She did not hesitate to ask Mr. Cayman, what is your title? He replied a little surprised, I am a count. She did not let go and continued to ask, who is your master? It is His Majesty. Then who does this tax bureau belong to? The Crown Prince. Finally, he could not bear it and angrily shouted, Duke, these questions. But before he could finish speaking, she interrupted, that is right, I am a duke. Since when has the Empire become such a free country in terms of etiquette? Am I your friend? Kaman suddenly choked on these words and could not say anything. Then he smiled to ease the situation. That is not it, Duke, you are still young. As the general manager and your senior, Helena Acrux knew what he was going to say and interrupted. The Crown Prince is also younger than you, right? She coldly asked, then you would treat him like this too? Kaman was so angered by her words that he gritted his teeth but could do nothing. Helena Acrux crossed her arms and indifferently said, just looking at your attitude towards me today, I know how this tax bureau operates. I will follow it more closely. Before she left, she ordered, collect and submit to me all documents from 5 years ago until now. Den witnessed all of this but said nothing. Kaman waited for Helena to leave before cursing, that arrogant little thing. Helena Acrux sighed tiredly after returning, it is really chaotic. She turned around and said, hey, make some tea and bring it here. In her head, she began to analyze, it is okay. Compared to my former territory, what is the big deal? First, I must grasp the information. Helena Acrux was very focused on thinking. Jackal Anthos suddenly appeared and asked, what are you doing? What do you think of this place? She was a little blank when she saw him come. There seemed to be a halo shining under his feet. Jackal Anthos smiled, making the whole space light up. Can you do it? She thought in a little panic. Jackal and Roadmine and Lena were currently grinning. As soon as she saw his face, Helena panicked. She asked, why are you here? The Crown Prince put his hand on his cheek, thinking as he said, let me see. At this moment, the Crown Prince suddenly took a step forward. He got closer to Helena and said, because I feel empty without you. Helena was extremely dissatisfied with this trick of the Crown Prince. She angrily shouted, don't joke around. Then she asked in a serious voice, I am serious, why are you here? About a few minutes ago, the Crown Prince went to the office. Helena was not present. Seeing that the Crown Prince had not responded, Helena thought, or is it because he does not trust me? But immediately after, Jackal replied, it is just. I can't stand not seeing you for a day. The Crown Prince finished speaking and habitually added a friendly smile. Helena naturally did not believe this reasoning of the Crown Prince. She looked at him angrily and said, you do not want to tell me the truth, do you? Seeing her cute expression, the Crown Prince smiled again and said, I am telling the truth, do not you believe it? Helena continued, yes, I do not believe it. After that, the Crown Prince returned to normal and asked, where are you planning to go? Helena replied, I am going to inspect. The documents that I asked the general manager to find will take a lot of time, so I plan to go and find them first. There is no more accurate indicator than my eyes. Somehow, the Crown Prince had transformed into a knight and followed Helena. Helena also changed clothes. She frowned and turned back to ask the Crown Prince, what are you following me for anyway? The Crown Prince seemed to have changed his head. His red hair had also turned black. He smiled brightly and said, let me see, maybe it is because it will be very interesting. At this moment, the Crown Prince's outfit attracted Helena's attention. She asked, but what are you wearing? The Crown Prince pointed and replied, this over there. While the two were talking, Helena suddenly heard footsteps. She immediately turned around to look. Then a man came over. The uncle cheerfully waved to greet the two. Are you the newcomer who arrived today? Are you just arriving now? The uncle suddenly burst out laughing and said, it seems the servants giving directions are not very attentive. You are 5 minutes late already, ha ha ha. Helena also quickly got into character. She calmly replied, sorry, the road here is too complicated. The man happily said again, it is okay, newcomers will all get lost. The two chatted very happily. Only the Crown Prince remained silent. After a few minutes of talking, the man decided to lead the two to receive their work. The man took the two to the office room. Upon arrival, the uncle clapped his hands to gather everyone's attention, and said, now the newcomer has arrived at our office. Helena also got very into it. She smiled and introduced, hello everyone, my name is Lena. Recalling, the name Lena was taken from Lena Pollux. Before coming here, she had thought about it and told Lena. The girl asked in surprise, yes, will the Duke manage her subordinates with my name? Helena replied, yes, if I use my noble identity, it won't be difficult to enter. Moreover, it seems they are recruiting a lot of new people. After speaking, she frowned and thought, lack of manpower, so they are recruiting more people. If this were modern times, it would really be XX. Returning to reality, Helena friendly smiled and said, I hope everyone will take care of me. Everyone in the office also started introducing themselves. The white-haired girl came over and introduced, nice to meet you, I am Sally. The red-haired boy also shyly said, I am Kobe, a junior has arrived, huh? Joining the atmosphere, the man also introduced himself, and I am Bruno, I am the manager of this office. Bruno is a tax specialist grade 1 belonging to Department 1. After chatting, Bruno continued to hand over the work. The uncle politely said, even though you just joined, but I am really sorry, can you follow me? Bruno led Helena to a library, especially it was very messy. This is the document storage. The uncle smiled wryly and said, haha, as you can see, the documents are placed randomly. Let us sort it out by year, just sort it out from the last 10 years. That is all. Helena immediately received a shock as soon as she started working. She immediately froze. Not only that, Bruno added, it just so happens that there is a servant here, so I can rest assured too, but if possible, please be self-reliant. There are also important documents. The Crown Prince just smiled. Bruno entrusted Helena. You just sort the documents and put them on the table. The superiors will know themselves. Then I wish you good luck. Ending the words, the uncle also generously gave her a wink before leaving. Being left with this mess, Helena showed a very bewildered expression. She asked herself, could it be that this pile of documents is what I was talking about? Very good, direct checking is not bad either, although I also want to take a walk. At this moment, when there was no one else, the Crown Prince suddenly leaned close to Helena's ear and whispered, do you see anything useful? Helena was immediately startled by this trick of the Crown Prince and screamed, you scared me to death, you were here this whole time. The Crown Prince questioned. You pretend not to know anything, you know I was here the whole time. Helena immediately said again, you say that so well, then why do not you leave? Hearing her say that, the Crown Prince did not respond. He was about to play the same trick again. He slowly slid his hand on the table and approached Helena. Immediately after was a sentence that could not be more flirting, because I want to date you here. Do you like secret dates like this, Duke? These words of the Crown Prince unexpectedly finally made Helena falter. Her cheeks flushed, she looked at him without blinking. But immediately after, Helena still did not dare to respond to these words of the Crown Prince. She shyly said, you are joking again. The Crown Prince firmly asked, what if I said I am not? The Crown Prince very calmly continued, am I not attracted to you? Standing in the Crown Prince's arms, Helena could not avoid feeling nervous. At this moment, the Crown Prince suddenly reached out and took off Helena's hair tie. Then he continued, last time you asked about the treasure. Helena had asked the Crown Prince about other treasures. But at that time, the Crown Prince did not show her those treasures. But now the Crown Prince suddenly asked again. Surely he wanted to show her those things. He asked, who are you planning to ask? Helena was immediately startled by this question of the Crown Prince. She thought to herself, what could it be? Obsession? Jackal is obsessed with treasure, could it be? Such a random question has already excited him. Not seeing her answer him, the Crown Prince continued to speak. Duke, I think you are my person. The time we have known each other until now is not long, but it does not matter. Now you just need to focus on what you value. I hope you do not hide anything from me. The Crown Prince gently hugged her in his arms. Helena's expression at this time was extremely tense. The Crown Prince also saw her anxiety. He said, I am curious if you will win this bet or not. Hearing the Crown Prince mention the two words bet, Helena blankly did not understand. Where did the bet come from? Not letting her have time to speak, the Crown Prince came closer and said, I also hope that you fail and become my lover. Helena immediately recognized that the Crown Prince was provoking her. She immediately pushed him away and said, that is not going to happen. Ending the words, Helena immediately turned away. She began to bury herself in the work in front of her. Seeing Helena turn away, the Crown Prince suddenly paused for a beat. Immediately after, he suddenly cast a dark magic. The Crown Prince pulled Helena closer. Then he said nothing and placed a kiss on her lips. Everything went smoothly, but that was only in the Crown Prince's mind. In reality, there was no kiss at all. A week later, still at the same house, Helena had completed half of the first task she was assigned. The room had gradually become neater. The milestone from 5 years back had been completed. Unexpectedly, a week passed like a breeze. Helena only needed to be busy working. The Crown Prince took care of everything else, and that is why Helena spent a whole week just sorting documents. In return, she received something. During lunch break, Helena went to lunch and sat talking with everyone. Everyone was talking very lively, especially Sally. She loudly said, what else is there to say? The nobles are the most troublesome group. After a week of working and learning, Helena learned that this place will receive questions and complaints related to taxes. The assistants sent to replace the nobles are all as troublesome as each other. Occasionally, the nobles who come in person are even more troublesome. Helena had also heard Sally and Kobe complain, but we have to pay attention to the eyes of the general manager. Kobe sighed. If some tall noble comes, the general manager will also have to bow his head. After piecing together some events, Helena concluded, in the original, the royal palace ruled by the emperor is also full of corruption. At this time there was suddenly a knock on the door from the outside. Sally called out, Lena, are you in there? Do you have time? After opening the door, Helena was immediately given a new stack of documents. Sally smiled and said, I am asking you for a favor. Now is the peak season of busy work, so there is a shortage of manpower. Helena blankly looked at the stack of documents, and the Crown Prince Jackal intently looked at her. Sally quickly explained, please go to Count Cobain's place. He is underpaying taxes, say like that. It all depends on you. Ending the words, Sally immediately teleported, leaving Helena standing there feeling frustrated. With no other choice, Helena had to go to Count Cobain's mansion. This place was indeed extremely magnificent. Helena walked and complained, how did things turn out like this? The Crown Prince spoke up at this time and asked, do you know Count Cobain? Helena replied, I know, this is a noble family in the northwest. Even though she was from a noble family, Helena still worried if she could speak properly. And the answer was no. As soon as she presented the issue, Duke Cobain immediately denied it. I do not owe any taxes, you have the wrong person. Facing such a great figure, Helena did not dare to act recklessly. She sat quietly listening to him. Do you know how much hardship I have faced with this year's crop failure? Helena could tell he was lying just by listening. Cobain territory had a crop failure. But since it was her job, Helena smiled brightly and said, oh my. Was not this territory spared from the floods and had a bountiful harvest? After Helena said that, Duke Cabane was stunned. He wondered how could this little thing know that? The Northwest Territory was blocked by treacherous mountains, so news updates were very slow. It was because of this loophole that he had an excuse to evade taxes. But Helena did not let it go. She smiled radiantly and continued. Is that expression because you are curious how I know? Our general manager Cohen is very capable, you know. Duke Cabane's face now clearly showed worry. But Helena did not stop. She proudly boasted, moreover, the Crown Prince knows everything. With no reason to argue, Duke Cabane angrily gnashed his teeth. Then he said shamelessly, anyway, I do not have any taxes to pay. After finishing speaking, he drove Helena and the Crown Prince away. After being kicked out, Helena was not in a hurry to leave, she quietly thought. Sally once said, go and come back, ignore anything you hear. If she said that, there is no reason she would not know this. Helena realized the issue at this point. In the end, this visit is just a formality. Is that why corruption is becoming more and more prevalent? This is a frequent occurrence with those who often come to our house. After thinking for a while, Helena understood everything. She clicked her tongue in frustration and left. Before leaving the Cabane mansion, Helena and the Crown Prince stopped in front of the mansion gate again. Crown Prince Jackal spoke up and asked, what should we do? Helena sullenly replied, if my body were healthier, maybe I could have stolen that ledger. I could also use my status to take it away, but I am just a newbie now. I do not have any power anymore. Helena became angrier and angrier as she spoke. Even though it is right in front of me, I can't do anything. Seeing Helena's angry expression, the Crown Prince actually smiled with amusement. He gently placed his hand on her shoulder and said, then we just need to steal it, right? You possess the strongest sword under the guise of a servant. The Crown Prince's idea was truly unique. Helena had never thought of that. As soon as she heard him, question marks appeared in her head. But it is still the only way at the moment, so Helena and the Crown Prince sneaked into the Cabane mansion again. Helena was feeling very uneasy, but she still followed the Crown Prince. She wondered to herself, how did things turn out like this? The Crown Prince happily pulled Helena along. Contrary to her worries, the Crown Prince was very excited about this mission. At this time, Helena could not help but ask, what are you doing? The Crown Prince secretly laughed and signaled her to be quiet. He smiled brightly and said, is not it very interesting? After finishing speaking, Jackal and Helena turned to observe the people in the mansion. Whether it was intentional or unintentional, the Crown Prince suddenly wrapped his arm around and pulled Helena closer to him. Helena was ambushed unexpectedly and did not have time to resist. She had no choice but to obediently stand still in the Crown Prince's arms. Helena and the Crown Prince moved gradually and stood hidden behind the door. The Crown Prince carefully observed every action of the servants in the mansion. But Helena could not concentrate on observing. She stood absent-mindedly in the Crown Prince's arms. After observing carefully for a while, the Crown Prince spoke up, it is okay now. Waiting for this, Helena immediately pushed the Crown Prince away. Immediately after that, Helena summoned Acrux. She said, I am going to do an important mission. Can you transform into a weapon? Acrux anxiously repeated, Master, if you do that, you will faint. You do not have a talent for weapons. I have observed, is it necessary to be so reckless? After hearing Acrux say that, Helena turned to question the Crown Prince. Are you really going to steal? Facing Helena's question, the Crown Prince calmly replied, of course. The Crown Prince smiled and continued, are you scared? Let us go back. Helena heard this and became angry. She would never let her pride be affected. Immediately after that, Helena unexpectedly grabbed the Crown Prince's hand. She pulled his hand and resolutely said, let us go. Who said I would give up? This was probably the first time the Crown Prince had Helena actively hold his hand. His heart immediately beat wildly. But perhaps because she was too nervous, Helena went in the wrong direction. The Crown Prince kindly reminded her, Duke, you have to go the other way. Helena immediately froze on the spot. After that, Helena had no choice but to follow the Crown Prince. Having only gone a short distance, Helena was already out of breath. She leaned wearily against the wall and panted. How many ordeals would Helena have to go through with the Crown Prince? She had to constantly hide, run away, and change clothes. Seeing her face was not good, Spica worriedly asked, are you okay, human? The Crown Prince and Helena had changed into another set of clothes. Helena wearily asked the Crown Prince, will we really find it doing this? The Crown Prince was silent for a moment and then wondered, where do nobles usually keep their documents? Helena replied, maybe in a safe or in a treasure chest. However, the Crown Prince had a different idea, he said. But Count Cabane likes to hide things in ordinary places, so he will usually hide them in the study or a normal warehouse. Helena listened and continued, you mean we should go to the study and warehouse, right? Immediately after that, the two continued their plan. On the way to where the ledgers were hidden, Helena secretly glanced at the Crown Prince and wondered, but how does he know that Count Cobain is such a person? What a terrifying person. After searching for a while, the two arrived at the Count's study. The two quickly approached as servants to clean. Helena waved her hand and rummaged through the bookshelf to find the safe. Immediately after that, she touched a strange book. Helena quickly took it out. Immediately after that, a secret door was opened, Helena said with interest. Nobles usually hide things this way. A safe immediately appeared. Helena was very familiar with these matters because she often robbed safes from corrupt people. But Helena did not search in the safe, she turned to look elsewhere. Was not it said that the Count would hide things in ordinary places? Isn't that place here? The place Helena was aiming for was a wooden cabinet. The Crown Prince quickly went over and tried to find it, but it was locked. However, that could not make things difficult for Jackal. He immediately took out a lockpick. Immediately after that, Crown Prince Jackal used his skills to break the lock. After only a few minutes, the cabinet was opened. Helena could not believe her eyes, she looked at him in confusion. How does the Crown Prince know how to do this? The Crown Prince smiled and then explained, when I was young, I often robbed safes from His Majesty this way. In this way, the two quickly obtained the ledger. Now that we have the ledger, let us go to the warehouse. Following that, the two continued to find their way to the warehouse. This place was always under strict surveillance. Helena and the Crown Prince stood hidden behind the wall. At this time, two more guards suddenly appeared in front. They went over and called the two guards who were standing guard. Immediately after that, all four of them left. This was the moment the opportunity for the two had arrived. Helena and the Crown Prince quickly broke into the warehouse. After getting inside the warehouse, Helena dared to breathe a sigh of relief. She wondered, why was it so easy to get in? Do we need to be careful? The Crown Prince also realized this and said, it seems the force behind this is very strong. Just when the two thought everything was going smoothly, a noise suddenly came from the door. Next, the door was opened. The knight was holding a valuable item in his hand and slowly walked in. He asked, why did the Count suddenly tell us to take something away? The other person replied, how would I know? The mage will come later, so let us go quickly. In a moment of crisis, the Crown Prince picked up Helena and ran to hide in the back. The two had also accidentally heard some more information. Helena thought, mage, so that is why the guard is so lax, not a safe but using magic in the house, so much money but not paying any taxes. The knight quickly put the item down and left. After he left, Acrux jumped out. The little bird called out to its master and announced, that is the treasure. Acrux's brothers are over there. Knowing this information from Acrux, Helena was even more puzzled. Why is the treasure here? Count Cobain has nothing to do with the 12 zodiac treasures. Helena could not understand why. She looked at the Crown Prince in confusion. She was curious to know if the Crown Prince knew about this. After that, Helena sighed. No matter what, she had to tell the Crown Prince, because this man could recognize the treasure, so it was very necessary. She quickly told the Crown Prince, Your Highness, it seems like what they just brought in is a treasure. The Crown Prince was indeed a little surprised when he heard this news. He immediately asked, what, do you know which family it belongs to? Acrux immediately replied, David. David is the protector of Capricorn. Helena listened and quickly relayed the information to the Crown Prince. It seems to be David. Hearing this name, the Crown Prince was not surprised at all. He replied, that is probably it. After that, the Crown Prince explained further. Baron David hurriedly returned to his territory about a month ago on the grounds of illness. Even though he was a party lover, there was no news about him after that. He must be dead now. The opponent is someone aiming for the treasure. Another person has an accident after Marquis Spica. The Crown Prince unintentionally mentioned Marquis Spica, which made Spica a little sad. Spica's face became gloomy. Helena immediately hugged Spica and coaxed him, and continued to ask the Crown Prince, why are you so sure that he is dead? The Crown Prince replied immediately, because if he were still alive, there would be no way he would not contact me. Baron David is my man. The Crown Prince continued, among the people who own the treasure, anyone on my side is dead. Actually, there was a similar case before Marquis Spica. Helena was very surprised by this truth. In the original story it was said that Jackal killed the owner of the treasure, but it was actually assassinated by the Emperor. The Crown Prince was talking but still paying attention to his surroundings. After the two people had gone far, he told her to get up. Helena stood up and said, do you think the culprit is the same person who killed Marquis Spica? Hearing Helena's question, the Crown Prince suddenly stopped. Immediately after that, he turned back to look at her and replied, why not? This is a competition. Helena listened quietly to the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince walked to the treasure and said, let us put aside the life and death of Baron David for now. Let us go back and take the necessary things. Helena understood the Crown Prince's intention. steal one more thing. And what the Crown Prince was aiming for was the item sitting proudly on the table. The Crown Prince quickly picked up the treasure and prepared to leave. But at this moment, something unexpected happened. A sudden scream echoed, shaking the entire mansion. The scream also attracted the attention of Duke Cabane. The guards quickly ran into the warehouse to check. The two had no time to hide. Even so, the Crown Prince was not worried. He coldly looked at them. Then the Crown Prince walked towards the two guards. Before the two could do anything, they were beaten to a pulp by the Crown Prince. In an instant, both guards were neatly on the floor. After that, the Crown Prince and Helena took the treasure and went straight out. The two followed the old path out. The two held two items that had been stolen perfectly. After completing the plan, the two returned to the main hall of the mansion. Helena continued to play the role of the diligent maid sweeping the floor. Ignoring the guards who were frantically searching for the person who had screamed earlier, she pretended to be sweeping the floor. They passed by her without any suspicion. After they left, Acrox and Spica dared to poke their heads out. Returning to a few minutes earlier, Helena and the Crown Prince made an escape plan. The Crown Prince said seriously, "I will distract them." "Let us meet outside," Helena asked suspiciously. "Distract?" Hearing this, the Crown Prince blurted out, "Duke, is not your strength a little weak?" Even though he did not have any malicious intent in his words, Helena's self-esteem was hurt. However, there was no other way now. She had no choice but to listen to the Crown Prince. Even though she felt a little angry when she recalled it, she quickly calmed down and told herself, "Do not act annoyingly, focus on what needs to be done." At the same time, the Crown Prince was being chased by the guards, but they could not catch up with him. Thinking that Helena's mission would be simple, but it was not. She was the one holding the treasure in her hand. The Crown Prince had told her to take the treasure out while he distracted them. Helena quickly observed the situation and assessed, "This is the farthest place in the mansion. I have to be as quiet as possible," thinking that everything was about to end. But no, a group of people suddenly appeared in front of Helena. A guard came over and shouted, "Everyone wait here. Only those who have been checked can go out." Receiving this news, Helena could not help but worry. She quickly turned around to find another way out. But Helena had only taken a few steps. She suddenly bumped into a young man. Both of them lost their balance and fell. The young man hurriedly asked, "Are you hurt anywhere?" As soon as the voice was raised, Helena immediately recognized it. This knight is Rain Pollux. Helena was very surprised by his appearance. Time turned back 30 minutes before the incident. Duke Cabane welcomed a special guest. That was minor Marquis Pollux, Rain Pollux. Cabane greeted Rain warmly. "Is your father still well? I will need your help in the future. I have prepared a gift so that you will not be disappointed." But Rain Pollux only perfunctorily replied, "I will pass the message on to my father." Rain's expression was not very happy. He came here because his father forced him to. He had no sympathy for this guy. Even though this was also a family that stood on the side of the emperor, he did not understand what his father was thinking. Rain Pollux did not want to waste more time looking at Cabane's face. He quickly stood up and said, "That is all you have to say, right? If it is done, I will leave." However, the old man had not stopped yet. He spoke up again. "It was very wise to abandon that twin sister. Isn't it that if there are twins in Pollux, one of them will have to die? How unlucky." Hearing the words from the fat man's mouth, Rain Pollux glared at him angrily. But he did not bother with him. Rain Pollux stood up and left. Seeing that he did not have any expression, Cabane sighed in frustration. What an unlucky day today. That hateful tax office. As soon as Rain heard the words tax office, he lingered a little longer and listened to the fat man continue. "The Crown Prince. It is said that he has been working very hard recently. What a joke about sobering up because of a woman. What does a young girl know?" Rain Pollux only heard up to here and knew that he was talking about Helena. He could not bear it any longer. Rain immediately drew his sword and pointed it at Cabane's neck. "Warning, you better not say that casually. Do not forget that I am a knight." Hearing these terrible words from Rain Pollux, Cabane was scared pale. After speaking, he turned around and left. Cabane hurriedly explained, "Haha, I was just kidding. I really forgot that you are an upright knight." Rain quickly went out to the main hall. Rain's heart beat wildly, uncontrollably. He wondered, why do I have to be so agitated when Duke Acrox is cursed? But Rain did not think too much. He wanted to leave this mansion quickly. But at this moment, a girl accidentally bumped into Rain Pollux. Rain did not pay attention, so he could not keep his balance. That is why the unfortunate scene just now appeared. He hurriedly asked the girl. But as soon as the girl raised her head, Rain immediately recognized that it was Helena. Both were very surprised to see each other here. At this time a knight passed by. He immediately asked Minor Marquis, "What is wrong?" I heard a rather loud noise. Hearing someone's voice, Helena immediately felt heavy. Seeing her uneasy face, Rain took a deep breath and helped her keep it a secret. After that, Rain replied to the knight, "There is nothing wrong, do not come here." After the knight left, Rain Pollux quickly put his hand on Helena's shoulder. He asked with concern, "What is wrong?" Receiving the question from Rain, Helena looked at him anxiously and called, "Upright knight." But just 1 second later, Helena immediately changed her expression. She smiled and quickly explained to Rain, "Haha, I was assigned to manage the tax office, and for some reason I have to come here and investigate." Rain Pollux also gradually realized a problem. He asked, "Could it be that the manager who came here is you?" Helena replied immediately, "Yes, even though the way I dress is a bit strange. But I am just curious why he does not want to pay taxes." Hearing her say that, Rain worriedly said, "Why are you doing such a dangerous thing?" Helena very confidently replied, "I am the master of Acrux, what is dangerous?" Rain Pollux had no choice but to be helpless. He sighed and continued, "I know, that is not what I meant." Rain Pollux's words left Helena bewildered. She did not expect him to reveal the secret of the divine object. Immediately after, Rain Pollux stood up and held out his hand towards Helena. "Let us go if you will permit." Without waiting for Helena's consent, Rain took the liberty of wrapping his arms around her. Then, he lifted Helena onto his shoulder and continued to leave. Helena was a little confused by this method of travel. She struggled and questioned Rain, "What the hell are you doing?" But no matter what she did, Rain ignored her and did not answer. The afternoon of the next day, at the office, Helena had returned safely without any problems. But she did not see Jackal, which made Helena very worried. At this moment, Helena took out the divine object that she and the Crown Prince had stolen. Seeing it silent, Helena curiously asked, "Why is not he saying anything?" Acrux replied, "Probably sleeping." A day had passed and Helena still had not seen the Crown Prince. She stayed up all night waiting but no one came. Until the next day, Helena continued to think. She was very puzzled by one question. If Jackal really does not kill the divine object's owner as in the original story, then why did His Majesty kill them? Was it to prevent anyone from siding with Jackal? No, they could also use persuasion. Since she could not know the correct answer, Helena thought about seeking help. Actually, I can think of a divine object owner, someone I can ask. The person she thought of at this moment was Rain. The day before, Rain had safely helped her escape. And his method was climbing the wall. But in any case, Helena still had to thank him. However, in the next second Helena said, "But, I am sorry, I was a little suffocated." She said shyly, "That piggyback position made me wonder if I am even a lady." Hearing her say that, Rain Pollux quickly explained, "That is because I was in a hurry, and also, if I hugged you properly, would not we make eye contact?" Just saying that, Rain's face flushed red. Just as Helena was lost in thought, a familiar voice rang out, "What are you thinking about?" Thinking about me with such confidence, it could not be anyone else. Crown Prince Jackal had finally come to see her. The Crown Prince's voice startled Helena. She quickly turned around and asked, "When did you arrive?" The Crown Prince walked over and replied, "A while ago." 1 second everything was normal, the next the Crown Prince was putting on an act, crying and complaining. "Oh my, how sad, the Duke does not even pay attention to me." Witnessing this nonsense, Helena just felt it was ridiculous. But immediately afterwards, the Crown Prince returned to his normal demeanor and asked, "Did you escape from the Cabane residence easily?" Helena replied immediately, "I was helped by someone." Hearing that, the Crown Prince could not maintain his composure. He took a step closer to Helena and said, "That is right, if you ran away without any preparation, it would be very difficult to deal with the guards, so who helped you? This is the first time hearing of it." Hearing this question, Helena suddenly fell silent. Seeing her expression was a little strange, the Crown Prince added, "I hope you are not hiding anything from me." As soon as the Crown Prince said that, Helena continued, "Mr. Pollux helped me, I was not planning to hide it from you. It is just that you did not give me time to say it." Hearing the name Pollux, Jackal felt suspicious. He asked again, "Mr. Pollux, is it Rain Pollux? Are you talking about the current owner of the Pollux divine object?" Knowing that the person who helped Helena was a man, the Crown Prince thought for a moment and then asked, "What is the relationship between you and him? You should not have any reason to meet him." Helena replied guiltily, "It was just a coincidence." Immediately after hearing Helena's answer, the Crown Prince looked towards Lena. He pressed, "And that strange maid, did the Duke bring her? Could it be related to the young lady who was expelled from the Pollux family, the Pollux twins?" Jackal's intuition was extremely sharp. Helena was stunned by what he said. She secretly suspected, what is it, this guy pretending not to know? But at this moment another detail appeared that surprised Helena. "Wait, they are twins, I thought they were just regular brothers." Even so, she did not pay much attention to it. Helena quickly took out the divine object and handed it to the Crown Prince. Your Highness, I do not think this is very important. This is the David divine object, please take it. Helena gave the divine object to Jackal, but he refused to accept it. The Crown Prince said casually. Ah, it is okay, you keep it, I think it would be more interesting to keep it with you. With that, the Crown Prince said goodbye and left. I am busy, so I am leaving, I just came to see if you were okay. The Crown Prince left in such an unclear way that Helena was very confused. What exactly is he plotting? Because she was not sure, Helena hurriedly asked again before the Crown Prince left the room. Wait, are you really going to give it to me? The Crown Prince used a question to answer her. Have I ever lied to you? As soon as Crown Prince Jackal said that, Helena knew the answer she needed, but she was still very puzzled. But does not the male lead want the divine object? That is too strange. To resolve the confusion in her heart, taking advantage of the Crown Prince not having left yet, Helena quickly spoke up. Your Highness, let me ask you something, what do you want power for? Receiving the question from Helena, the Crown Prince was a little surprised. He paused for a moment and then replied, to beat my father maybe. And also because of the curse. The words curse were completely absent from the original story. Helena became even more suspicious. Therefore, Helena said again, I will just ask one more question. Do you intend to steal the divine object of my family? Hearing Helena's question, Crown Prince Jackal immediately burst out laughing. How ridiculous, is not your question meaningless? If I say yes, what will you do? Then the Crown Prince adjusted his emotions and said honestly, well, it is not that I have not thought about it, but right now I desire you more. That is why I want you to continue to stay with me. It sounds a little crazy, but lately I have even had thoughts of wanting to imprison you. Today, please think of me and try hard. With that, the Crown Prince also gave her a loving wink and left. Helena did not hold him back. The Crown Prince left the room and went out to the main hall. After leaving the room, the Crown Prince did not leave immediately. He paused for a moment and thought. Rain Pollux. Different from his father who belongs to the Emperor's faction. He is a rigid and upright person. At this moment, the Crown Prince suddenly remembered what Helena had said earlier. His expression immediately became gloomy. His eyes also became extremely sharp. At the same time, in Baron Cobain's private room. Since the day the two of them left, he had been in a state of restlessness. He trembled and thought, it is over, I let the thief run away. His Majesty will soon find out about this, so I can't hide it for long. If I get caught I will die. I have to think of something. The old Cobain racked his brains, and at this moment, Helena's image suddenly appeared in his head. He actually came up with a method that could not be dirtier, I just need to blame it on that subordinate. The scene returns to the tax bureau, Helena's workplace. She was still in the office looking at documents. At this moment, a young man suddenly appeared in her office. Even so, Helena was not suspicious, because the young man was Roadmine. After Roadmine took off his glasses, his familiar appearance immediately returned. It had been 4 days since Jackal gave the David divine object back to Helena. During that time she had completely adapted to the work of the tax bureau. And Helena still encountered difficult dukes. But she also had ways to deal with them. Once when a duke refused to pay taxes and lay on the ground begging, Helena immediately took out a small knife and said, this is the first time I am cutting someone open, so I will be a little clumsy, please understand. Because of Helena's quick wit, she soon learned the basic problem of the tax bureau. As soon as Roadmine arrived, Helena asked about the matter. How's the investigation going? Roadmine took out a document and replied as expected. I have followed the corruption trail of General Manager Come On. He is thinking of taking a huge bribe and running away. I have tried to investigate and found out that he has had a close relationship with the Emperor since 3 years ago. It seems he used to be the Crown Prince's person but decided to betray him. With the Crown Prince's intelligence and insight, Helena thought, there is no way Jackal does not know about this. Then, Helena continued, Roadmine, actually, it is not surprising that Come On is the manager but is corrupt. The important thing is to solve the problem of tax evasion. Because only by doing so can I win the bet with the Crown Prince. Roadmine also agreed with Helena. Then he continued to report. That person named Den, Come On's deputy manager. He is a mage. While coming here, Roadmine accidentally ran into him. Looks like an unapproved mage. Helena was very surprised by this important information. She said, a mage but hiding his identity. If discovered, then the royal family will definitely not let it go. Roadmine continued. He probably thinks he won't be discovered, because he is deliberately hiding it. It is not easy to be recognized. Like me, Roadmine is a clear example. He is also a mage. Mages are not a very common existence. Helena thought for a moment and then said, Roadmine, come with me for a moment, I have come up with a great way to win this bet. The scene shifts to the main hall of the tax bureau. The person Helena is targeting is here. He is Den, the anonymous mage. Den walked and imagined the conversation between him and Come On. Come On gave Den a stack of documents and ordered, "Find the weaknesses." Den helplessly took the stack of documents again. "But you have already made a lot of money." Den only asked a few questions and was lectured by Come On. "Don't argue. Do not forget I am holding someone's life in my hands. And do not even think about going to see the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince will die sooner or later." Remembering those threats, Den sighed helplessly. There was no other way but to commit a crime. Den did not want to do that. To be approved as a mage, he had to spend at least 3 years in the City of Magic. But an accident happened that put Den in his current predicament. Den had a seriously ill wife. Once, when old Come On was walking around, he discovered Den using magic. Thinking of this, Den felt extremely regretful. At this moment, Helena suddenly appeared. She asked from a distance, "Deputy Manager Den, right?" She asked with a smile, "Can you talk to me for a moment?" Den did not know that Helena had changed her identity, so when he saw Helena in this form, he was a little surprised. Isn't this Duke Acrux? But why is she wearing the clothes of a subordinate? Because he did not know Helena's purpose, Den made an excuse and refused. "I am sorry, but I have something urgent to do, so I can't talk to you, and please speak freely, Duke." "Then I will be rude." With that, Den quickly left. But Helena would not let someone leave so easily. Before Den could leave, Helena used the word mage to call him. Den was extremely panicked when he heard the word. He hurriedly turned around. Helena looked at Den and said, "Now you probably want to talk, huh?" Before finding Den, Helena had Roadmine spread all the information. Over the past time, Deputy Manager Den had used magic to dig up the weaknesses of the nobles. Come On had used it to threaten the nobles of the Crown Prince's faction, and help the nobles of the Emperor's faction evade taxes. Come On was an accomplice. Although he had investigated very carefully, Roadmine still had a somewhat vague point. The scene shifts to the internal warehouse of the tax bureau. Helena led Den here and talked. Den immediately asked, "So what do you want to say?" Den did not dare to face Helena. He asked nervously, "If there is nothing else, can I leave?" Helena was not free to spend a lot of time just calling Den over without any benefit. She asked bluntly, "Do you know how much tax you have cooperated to steal?" Receiving Helena's question, Den felt guilty, but he still resolutely denied it. "I do not know what you are talking about." Helena of course anticipated this answer. Den lost his composure and said, "You suddenly brought me here, then accused me of being a mage. Randomly suspecting others can also become a crime." Being questioned by Den, but Helena was still very calm, she asked again, "Do you have any thoughts of betraying Come On?" Helena's question startled Den once again. Not stopping there, Helena continued, "After thoroughly understanding the allegations against you, I clearly see that you do not want to be involved in those things. If you use magic, then you can probably do more terrible things, but you do not do that. Well, I understand your sick wife is being held hostage. You have no other choice." The information Helena said was accurate to the millimeter, which terrified Den. Understanding Den's psychology, Helena immediately made a suggestion. "If I save your wife, will you agree to cooperate?" Den was still shocked after hearing that. He thought for a moment and then replied, "I do not know how you could know this, but I refuse. My wife is suffering from an incurable disease now, can only hold on with a huge amount of money. If I can't take responsibility for a lifetime, then I will just ignore it. If I have to pay the price for those sins, then I will accept it." Hearing Den's words, Helena also realized that his wife's disease was a difficult incurable disease. At this moment, Spica and Acrux suddenly appeared. Spica whispered into Helena's ear. Immediately after, Helena said to Den, "If I can treat that disease, would you like to cooperate?" The conversation had not yet reached a result. Footsteps suddenly came from outside. Helena and Den quickly discovered. At the same time, Roadmine did not know where he suddenly appeared from and said, "Duke, the knights are running towards this side. I will hide you on this side." Without much time, Roadmine quickly used magic to help Den become invisible. Immediately after, the team of knights burst open the door and said, "Subordinate Lena, you have been arrested for theft." The team of knights quickly escorted Helena away. Although she was framed, Helena did not show any fear. A while before that, Cobain's team of knights had found Bruno and informed him about Helena's theft. They had announced that they would come to escort the criminal away first. That is why the team of knights was able to quickly escort Helena away. Helena was also very perceptive. She noticed that they were taking her to a deserted place. At this time, she also heard a short conversation between two knights. "Just lead her away, right? The count said so. I do not know either." Looking at the clothes they were wearing combined with what the two had just said, Helena wondered, "The count, but why are they royal knights? It seems that is the pattern of the Cobain family." With only a small amount of information, Helena concluded, "This is caused by Count Cobain. I found it strange since they dragged me away without revealing their identity. I have seen these knights before. They are the count's people. It seems they are pretending to be royal knights to capture me." Now that Roadmine is not around, It is very dangerous to be led away by them. So now Helena immediately summons her 2 war gods. Acrux, come here. Acrux heard the order and immediately lent Helena his power. Having gained power, Helena quickly dealt with the group of knights. But she did not have enough strength to deal with all of them. Taking advantage of an opening, Helena ran away with all her might. The knights quickly chased after her. Helena wanted to buy time until Reborn arrived, but Acrux had told her the truth that with this body she could not maintain her power for long. Therefore Helena had to escape quickly. She ran to the right side. But unfortunately it was a dead end. Helena helplessly sighed. She still had work to do with this identity, so if she caused a commotion and revealed her identity, then the bet with Jackal would have problems. Helena had not thought of a way to save herself when the power Acrux lent her also ran out at the same time. Helena was speechless. Isn't this running out too fast? Without assistance, Helena could only rely on herself. But at this moment, the David divine object inside her pocket suddenly spoke. Need me to help? Without Helena's consent, David immediately took action to help her. Suddenly, a giant boulder appeared, blocking Helena's path. She turned to look in surprise, wondering to herself, what exactly is this? Helena's gaze darkened as she observed. She offered a quiet assessment. If this is not a mage, then it can only be. There are knights on the other side of the wall, too. She glanced at them, quietly calculating. Either way, they are helping me stop the knights, so I have to think of a way to escape. But when she looked back at the other side, Helena fell into thought. The problem is that even if I jump over this stone wall, there is nowhere to go. I really did walk into a dead end. Suddenly something made her widen her eyes in surprise. In the distance, behind the knights, someone was rushing towards them at the speed of light. Jackal appeared, causing Helena to wonder in surprise. Why is he there? The knight saw him and called out, "Wait, stop, we are on a mission, so do not come near." Jackal did not seem to care at all. He looked at them with a murderous aura. He took a tentative step, as if preparing to do something. The blonde knight called out, trying to stop him. "If you come any closer, you know what will happen." But before he could finish his sentence, Jackal gave him a kick. The black-haired knight cried out in alarm, "Senior." He stomped closer, saying fiercely, "You started this." But then he also received the same kick as his senior. Helena stood there blankly, watching the scuffle ahead. In a short time, Jackal had knocked all the knights down. She stammered out blankly, "Well, anyway, I am lucky Right now he looked extremely scary, causing Helena to stand there blankly, forgetting what to say. The knights were beaten to a pulp. No matter how angry they were, they could only run away, saying, "The Count did not say this would happen." Another one, in a panic, hurried after him. "Damn it, I did not know either." Jackal silently watched the people scatter and run. After confirming that they were gone, he turned to look at Helena. She was standing there watching and got looked back at, causing her to freeze, not knowing what to do. After a period of blankness, she finally made up her mind. To Jackal's surprise, Helena asked quietly, "Why are you here?" He asked in surprise, "Aren't you scared?" Helena tried to appear calm, but deep inside she was screaming, "I have seen actions even more extreme than in the original story. What is there to be afraid of? But actually I am a little nervous." Without getting an answer, Jackal said, "I am the one who wants to ask you that. Why are you here?" Hearing that question, Helena stammered out that, in her heart she thought, "I can guess the reason he is here, but I should still pretend I do not know. If this wall really is the power of the divine object, then I am in trouble." While Helena was lost in thought, suddenly a spirit appeared. To both of their surprise, the spirit yawned and said, "I am so sleepy." The playful girl winked and continued, "How many years has it been?" After exclaiming that, the spirit realized there were people there. She floated over to Helena and asked, "Who are you? Are you my new master?" Helena asked blankly, "What?" She quickly glanced around, screaming in her heart, "Oh my God." Jackal also looked at the scene in surprise. The spirit did not care and introduced herself. "I am David of Taurus. Aren't you the new master of the David family?" Helena remembered what she thought 3 minutes ago. If this wall really is the power of the divine object, then I am in trouble. She hurriedly cried out and refused, "I am not." David was saying, "How could that be?" When Helena cut her off, she turned to Jackal and explained, "Your Highness, this strange ghost suddenly appeared again." Jackal indifferently corrected her, "Not a ghost, this is a constellation spirit. Only those with immense power can make it manifest." Upon hearing those words, Helena collapsed in admiration, unable to believe it. The Crown Prince gave a chilling smile and said, "Summoning a spirit of a treasure that is not yours, this is the first time I have seen it." While collapsing, Helena paused and internally marveled at that expression. David, seeing this, asked her, "What is wrong? Should I handle it?" Helena replied helplessly, "No, do not." In her heart, she mused, in the original story, he is the one who destroyed the treasures, so David might be in danger. Suddenly David said, "But why do not I have any strength?" Suddenly, the little girl shrank back, turning into her original form as a small bird. The little girl asked blankly, "Oh, what is wrong?" Helena worriedly caught her and said, "Be careful." Suddenly, a voice called from behind the crown prince, "Lena." Several servants hurriedly ran down the hallway, searching. Jackal said, "Hide it first, we will talk later." At this moment, golden light was emanating from a room. Inside the room, Helena was tiredly slumped on the sofa, muttering to herself, "I am going to die." Helena recalled her conversation with the manager, who angrily said, "How dare they impersonate royal knights? The Earl must be crazy." He hurriedly continued, "You have worked hard, I will talk to the general manager about this." Helena quickly waved her hand and said, "No, no need. It is not a big deal, just a misunderstanding." In her heart she thought, if this issue gets bigger, it will be difficult because I am both a duchess and a lower-level manager. Suddenly, Helena acted dramatically and said, "Besides, if this reaches the general manager and becomes so serious that I get fired, what will I do? I still have a sick sister and younger siblings. The weakest being Redmine." Somewhere someone asked, "Since when am I the duke's sibling?" Helena continued, "At home like this, family like that." Two other managers, hearing this, exclaimed, "Your circumstances are so unfortunate. I will protect your job, I won't let you be mentioned. But, if the investigation team or the general manager asks, there will be no other way." Returning to reality, Helena tiredly held her head and sighed. "It has been so long since I have acted again, I thought I was going to die." Jackal suddenly said, "It seems you have rested enough, let us talk." He coldly called, "Duchess, can you use the power of treasures belonging to other families?" The crown prince coldly asked her. Helena was surprised by the question. In her heart she wondered, should I tell the truth? If I say I can use the power, what will happen? Her hand tightly gripped her skirt in anxiety. In her heart a question arose, what if I say I can only communicate with them? Is Jackal different from the original story? Helena suddenly remembered the previous times she and the crown prince had intimate contact. She exclaimed inwardly, clearly, the relationship between me and him is far different from the original story. In fact, we have become closer. Helena suddenly remembered Jackal's cold eyes. She exclaimed inwardly, "But if I were to ask if he would harm me, I am not sure." After thinking it over, she faintly replied, "I do not know." Jackal asked in surprise, "You do not know?" She immediately put on a trust me face and replied, "I have only ever used Acrux before. On the contrary, I am very curious about what just happened." Helena then voiced her question, "It was His Highness who held Spica. Was not it because you knew how to use the treasure that you acted that way?" Jackal coldly replied, "No, the Marquis gave me the treasure for personal reasons." He recalled a conversation he had with her a few days ago. "This is a treasure with healing abilities. I am thinking of finding someone who can use it." Returning to reality, Jackal suddenly said, "If I could use it, I would have used it to heal you immediately without having to find someone." His eyes became sharp and he continued, "But treasures have never been used by someone other than their owner." Hearing this, Helena fell silent. Then suddenly she acted innocent and replied, "Really, but I do not know anything. Oh my, how strange, oh dear." Jackal immediately questioned, "You really do not know?" Helena replied, "Yes, I want to know too, I really do not know anything at all." Hearing those fake words, Jackal tiredly sighed. He chuckled and replied, "All right, David is in our hands anyway. Let us experiment together. This might help me understand your potential, so you probably won't refuse, right?" Helena cursed inwardly, "This crazy bastard. He looks like he is threatening me no matter how I look at it. He is not going to let it go easily, is he?" But then she helplessly replied, "Yes, of course I won't refuse." Suddenly, a shadow stood in front of Jackal. Helena asked, "But what will I get?" Jackal laughed and asked back, "I said it already, you can find out your potential is not that very beneficial." Hearing those words, Helena coldly replied, "No, it is not. Until now, I have experienced many special situations, but in reality, how many opportunities do I have to hold treasures belonging to other families?" She said unconvincingly, "If after the experiment something is discovered, and I get an increased opportunity, then that is definitely His Highness's intention." Jackal's face turned dark with anger. Helena very firmly continued, "So I just want to confirm this clearly. If I am not mistaken right now, Your Highness is full of the intention to use me." Jackal stared at her in surprise. It seemed those words made him laugh, and he burst out laughing. Jackal smiled and replied, "It is a little sad that you say that about me." The crown prince's eyes sharpened, and he coldly continued, "But that is the charm of the Duchess." With that, Jackal gently reached out and took Helena's hand. As he placed a kiss on her hand, he said, I am about to fall for you again. Hearing those words, Helena thought to herself, he is talking nonsense again. Helena asked in surprise, what do you think about postponing this story after the bet is over? Jackal helplessly asked back, alright, so only I know your abilities. Suddenly, Rain's image and words appeared in Helena's mind. Could it be that she can see other treasures that do not belong to her family? She mused to herself. Ronnie knows that I can see treasures but does not know that I can use their power. Helena replied, yes, if your highness is done speaking, then I will end here. Hearing this, Jackal said, go ahead. After Helena left, the room became strangely quiet. Jackal suddenly smiled. He muttered, found it. A room wrapped in chains. Jackal smiled steadfastly and affirmed, the owner of that room. The next day, at the management tower, a worried person said, I will cooperate. Helena blankly wondered, changed his mind. He continued, I heard that you treat mages very well, and that you won't force them to sign lifetime contracts. Hearing those words, Helena thought, it seems Redmine told him, working hard are not you. The mage then asked, will you keep your promise to save my wife? Helena immediately replied, of course, and I can pay in advance too. She raised 2 fingers and said, in return, you must report all the crimes of the general manager. As for how I will treat your wife, do not investigate it, and do not ask. Helena continued, these are my conditions. The mage stared blankly. But for his wife he had to agree. The mage shed tears of happiness and replied, yes, I understand. A while later, in the crown prince's room, Helena appeared blankly and called, Your Highness, can you appoint me as an inspector for the tax bureau? Jackal was surprised by the proposal and asked back, an inspector, that is sudden. Shouldn't you be at the tax bureau now? Helena smiled and replied, I am just out for a moment. Suddenly he continued, if I appoint you, many people will call it an illegal act. She confidently replied, it is all right. Helena confidently said, I will strip them bare to the point that they can't utter a word, and I will give you ledgers containing all the evidence of their corruption. Jackal said in surprise, it seems you have come up with a very good method, all right, let us do it, but in return. Suddenly the crown prince stood up. He smiled and suggested, let us have a meal together. Soon after, the 2 of them were sitting at a lavishly set table. The 2 of them were eating together. Helena blankly wondered, it is just eating together, do we need to change our appearance like this? Suddenly she complimented, black hair also suits you very well. Jackal blankly replied, what are you saying all of a sudden? Helena quickly switched to social mode. In her heart she thought, it would be strange to be silent like this while eating with a superior. Jackal quietly asked, do you really think so? Helena smiled and replied, yes, that is right. The crown prince's eyes gradually became sharper. Suddenly he said, I was not originally planning to talk about this so soon, but I have to tell you this. This is a time when I should not leave the office, but I still changed my appearance and arranged this meal with you. Helena blankly wondered, what is he planning to say? Suddenly Jackal said, Duchess, are you interested in being imprisoned? Helena immediately replied, are you crazy? Hearing that question he laughed and said, as expected, you are not. Helena was still blankly wondering, what the heck? Suddenly he said again, then I will change the question. Duchess, do you want to experience being imprisoned by agreement? Jackal looked at her very sincerely. Helena was stunned with surprise. She shouted inwardly, huh? During that dinner, Helena sat thinking, what nonsense is this guy talking about? The problem is, this guy is the one who imprisoned her sister in the original story. Therefore Helena did not hesitate and said, first please explain. Hearing this, Jackal clicked his tongue, you are really going to listen to stories about imprisonment? Suddenly Helena sighed. Even if your highness is joking, you would never say meaningless words. At least now I have faith that you won't create this kind of space and say meaningless words. As soon as she finished speaking, Helena was a little surprised. When she saw the crown prince's expression, he smiled and said, as expected, no one can compare to the Duchess. Which made her a little fluttery. Even disguised, you are still so beautiful. In the midst of her confusion, Jackal suddenly called, Duchess. Then the crown prince mentioned someone. Father is forcing me to marry. Helena immediately remembered. This also happened in the original story. And then she continued, I am listening. In the meantime Helena thought, but as far as I know he never got engaged or married, because he was only obsessed with her sister. Moreover, the princess was originally the villainess in the original story, so she would absolutely not let those women stay by her brother. Jackal sighed. After that, the crown prince continued, originally, he was not too forceful about this. But recently, he has been putting even more pressure. Even making conditions that I can't ignore. So when I think about it, it seems everything started with the rumor that the Duke and I are lovers. At this time, Helena understood, so because it is my responsibility we have to get married so that we do not have to listen to those words anymore. So Jackal teased, now you are willing to do that, which made her angry. You really think so? Of course if you came to my side I would be very welcome, but if so, what is the point of mentioning imprisonment? Marrying you can definitely help me escape the oppression from His Majesty, but that is not a wise method because if I get engaged or marry you, you will definitely die. And that oppression will weigh on me again. The control started when I was born, and it will continue to happen even if I am angry. If that happens, I will definitely go crazy. Hearing this, Helena was astonished. Jackal also said, what if the rumor that I imprison someone gets spread out, if that person is the young and talented Duchess, who is also my rumored lover? What will happen? It will definitely be the hottest topic of discussion. Everyone will try to verify if this is true, and the first person will be my father. Speaking of this, Jackal suddenly became silent. Recently those close to me have been killed from within. It is really uncomfortable. I want to know who my enemy is. And I am also curious what the reaction of those who follow me will be when they see me go crazy. Hearing this, Helena thought, he means he wants me to cooperate in acting to find internal spies. Without hesitation, she asked Jackal, what will I get? He immediately replied, I will let you leave as soon as the play is over. However, Helena rejected that idea. It is funny, when do you think that play will end? At that time she wondered, do I look like a fool who is easily deceived? Then Jackal laughed, so it is not effective. Which made Helena say sternly, if you keep joking like this. But before she could finish speaking, Jackal interjected, I will fulfill your wish. Anything is fine, I will bet my life. Helena could not help being shocked when she heard this. Jackal also said, if you want you can come to my study to talk, I will use magic to swear. Think carefully, you can also make other conditions if you want. Finally the two of them finished eating. But Helena suddenly felt indigestion. It would be strange not to have indigestion after hearing about imprisonment. At that time Jackal suddenly said, the world still thinks that. When a man and a woman eat together and then take a walk, that is dating. After finishing his words, Jackal looked at her intensely, which made Helena flustered. Dating, your words are giving me indigestion. Then Jackal laughed and said, if I am etched so deeply in your mind, that must be love. Hearing that, Helena froze, cursing inwardly, this crazy guy, what is he saying? Suddenly at that moment, a white-haired young man appeared, which made Helena can't help but be surprised. He stood between her and the crown prince. Duchess, do you need my help? At that moment Helena was genuinely surprised. Oh, Rain. Moreover, he asserted, it seems you do need help. I saw it all. This man is harassing you. Let me arrest him, which made Jackal not understand what was happening. Helena also could not help but be flustered. Rain said sternly, harassing a lady in broad daylight, right in the hallway of the dining hall, I will take him to the palace. Hearing that, Helena sighed inwardly. Even if he gets arrested, he will be released. On the contrary, you will get arrested. At this time, Rain kept insisting on protecting Helena, so she spoke up, that is not it. Seeing them so close, Jackal could not help but feel uncomfortable. I know the Duchess is keeping the daughter of the Pollux family as a maid. And the territories of these two families are also close to each other. So they have known each other from before. But either way, immediately after, Jackal decided to speak up. It seems like the knight has misunderstood. After speaking, the crown prince boldly stepped forward, coming in front of Rain, and affirming, I am the Duchess's lover. This is our first time meeting, is not it? The Duchess did not mention you at all. Hearing that, Rain exclaimed, don't lie. The Duchess's lover is His Highness the Crown Prince. During the argument, Helena could not help but feel annoyed inside. You are both wrong. And I already denied it to you, Rain. He also said, of course it is just a rumor, but I have never heard of the Duchess having a lover. But even if there were, if it is the Crown Prince, it is understandable. But you saying you are? Jackal was stunned. Oh, you are talking about His Highness the Crown Prince. But his expression was quite amused when he heard that. Rain also said, moreover, the Duchess is looking at you with an uncomfortable expression. If you are lovers, you should not do what the other person hates. Helena suddenly thought, this sentence hit him right in the heart. And then Jackal spoke up in response. You have misunderstood. I understand that in other people's eyes, this joke might be a bit too much. But you do not have to worry. These jokes are just normal, are not they, darling? The Duchess did not deny it, so Rain asked for Jackal's name. Moreover, the Crown Prince said, we started this relationship with the premise of marriage. At that moment, Helena thought to herself, look at his expression. If I say no, he definitely won't be happy. If Rain starts digging into Jackal's identity and talks about arresting him, it would be troublesome. After all, the Pollux family is on the Emperor's side. If Jackal's changing his appearance and going back and forth is exposed, it would not be a good thing. After a moment of thought, Helena nodded and said, yes, what was it? It could be. But it is not really. Which made Rain confused. What do you mean? Anyway, this is my colleague. 'Cause the joke was too much, it made you worry. Thank you for helping me. You look really cool. Those words made Rain a little shaken. Afterwards, Helena excused herself. I am a bit busy right now, so I will go first. She also did not forget to ask Rain about a meeting next time. Okay, I will contact you through Lena. See you later. But at that moment, Rain suddenly noticed a cold gaze glancing at him. At that moment, he also felt suspicious. Scene change at Jackal's office. He was still thinking about what happened earlier. When facing Rain, Jackal felt that Rain's actions at that time were very strange. On the other hand, Jackal had accepted his request and appointed him as an inspector. Thanks to Den's help, the corrupt actions of the general manager had been exposed in just 4 days, which made everyone surprised when Duchess Helena took action herself. Finally, Helena also took over the desk of the general manager of the tax office. But she felt quite tired because she had to work continuously without stopping. Anyway, Helena had already solved the case of the general manager. Den was a great help. Because even the opponent had to panic, they were easily defeated. Accelerating this case was the best choice. That is right, Helena had been doing this all the time while she was in the territory. Now she just needs to decide on the new manager, then she can go back. Suddenly someone called, Duchess, there is a guest. Helena immediately spoke up, let them in. And she could not help but be startled when she saw the princess. Hello Duchess, are you well? Helena hurriedly stood up. I pay my respects to Her Highness the Princess, the Moonlight of Canopus. At that moment, Hiria also had something to say to her. I have heard many interesting things lately, most of them are related to the Duchess, which made Helena a little scared. Hiria continued to say with a malicious expression, so you and my brother have become closer. Hiria covered her mouth and laughed, asking, have you become close to my brother? Helena gave a forced smile and replied, I am just doing my best as an assistant. She secretly lamented. What is her plan, suddenly appearing? Is the Siskon princess finally here to punish me, save me? She has been silent like a villain in a book. At this moment Hiria spoke up, come here, sit down. I also heard rumors, so I was a little disappointed when I heard you say that. They said you are my brother's lover. Oh, I am not blaming you. It is surprising. Why did not you come to see me? I thought you would have many questions for me. Like why the evidence from the perpetrator who killed Marquis Spica bears my Knight Order symbol. Helena spoke up, I am not curious. I assume it was a setup. No one could be so stupid as to commit murder and leave such clear evidence. Hiria silently looked at the girl in front of her, then smiled and replied as expected, the Duchess is interesting. It was a good decision to make. You see, I like you. Helena outwardly calm, but inwardly lamented. This is the attention of a villain. Unwelcome. Hiria continued, that is why I am telling you. My brother might imprison you. Helena was startled to hear that. She remembered the dark images of the past. Why did I come to replace my sister? Everything has changed since I have been here. I can't be influenced. Thinking, Helena spoke up, I do not understand what you are saying. Hiria crossed her arms and replied, of course not. How would the Duchess know? No, what I mean is, I will be returning to my territory soon. And His Majesty has allowed it. Helena secretly rejoiced, I have won the bet. Which means I can go back, right? This makes me uneasy. The problem is, there is something that is bothering me. She asked, why are you telling me this, princess? The princess laughed and replied, oh my, what a good question. It is because we have to go back to my brother's childhood. Since he was young, my brother has kept everything he cherishes. Objects, animals, people. And that is because he was cursed. Helena was a little surprised to know there was a curse. I have heard that before. And let us just say, it is because of the curse. This curse has some symptoms, but one of them is an obsession with keeping anything he wants within his grasp. If that thing is a person, then imprisonment is not a problem. Because you are my brother's official lover. Helena thought to herself, impossible, but even if I think so, I can't completely trust Jackal. But I can't let the princess notice. I do not know what they are plotting when telling me this. She spoke up, I appreciate the warning, but it seems like this is an issue between us. Thank you for your concern. The princess asked Helena, don't you believe me? Helena replied, that is not true. I am just grateful that you took the time to warn me despite your busy schedule. B. That is all I have to say. Saying that, Hiria turned her head and left without looking back. After the door closed, Helena sat on the chair worried. What the hell is this? The princess added before leaving, you have many things to be careful of, Duchess. You also need to watch out for my brother and my father. Thank you for clearing my name. On the other side, Hiria confidently walked down the hallway. She said to herself, just like I thought, she is like me. With Callisto. Scene changed to another dark place. The person in the chair asked the two subordinates, how is everything? One knelt down and reported, there is nothing to update. The emperor was suspicious, nothing. The subordinate nodded and replied, that is right. Duke Akrax has kept his territory spotless. He seems to be very fond of his only family, his younger sister, but the whereabouts of Callisto Akrax are currently unknown. The emperor stroked his chin and said, if there are no weaknesses, then there is no other choice. Other than to kill him, do not you think with your family's ability, Cows? Cows bowed his head and replied, I accept the order. Saying that, he quickly turned and left. At this moment the emperor called Marquis Pollux, there is something I need you to do as well. The blood relative of Duke Akrax, the one that Earl Cows could not find. Marquis Pollux nodded, indicating that he understood. The next morning at the castle, Helena stood by the window and gently called Rodmine. He was behind her and replied yes. Helena said, look at my face for a long time. Because from now on my fate is either death or imprisonment. Rodmine asked, can I run away before getting involved in this? Helena annoyedly threw the papers at his face. Go away, Akrax. So that is what happened. In Rodmine's hands were the princess's story summary and Jackal's imprisonment proposal. Rodmine spoke up, there is one thing I am curious about. Helena nodded and asked, what is it? Rodmine replied, I do not even know. How does this look like there are feelings involved? There is a character like that in the book I am reading. Helena annoyedly scolded, stop reading those sad novels and use that time to work, okay? What about the task I assigned you before? Has the item not appeared in the auction house? Rodmine nodded in agreement. Yes, I have searched everywhere but to no avail. The item is a pair of rings said to have been worn by the hero. It also appears in the original story as the key to controlling the jackals. A treasure said to have been used by a great hero who once hunted dragons long ago. And they became as docile as lambs, obeying the wearer's commands. In the original story, it is said to have appeared one day at the capital's auction house. And the jackal could not move an inch before that ring. No matter how much I searched, there were no other clues, so in the end, I just have to wait for it to appear. Just then, she noticed something. The little bird seemed to call out, hello, human. She asked back, I heard you were forced to sleep, so why are you out? I did not even call you. The bird replied, I just wanted to come out. Helena spoke up, good, I have something to ask you. I will contact the Davy family when the time comes, you can go back then. The bird sulked and replied, I won't go back. I won't go, I will stay with you, human. Helena asked it, don't you need my permission for that? The bird replied, why would I do not want to choose another master anymore. I am too tired of this. Helena wondered to herself, so, is this a strike declaration? She asked, what is the difference if you stay with me? The bird replied, with you I can broaden my horizons. I do not really know, but you feel like our first master. The first master. Then perhaps, human, you could become my master. The white bird appeared, interrupting. Not so fast. Spica was first, I was going to say it first. Helena immediately tried to dissuade them, no, calm down a bit. After a while the fight finally stopped. The two birds said in unison, it can't be. The human must be the master of both me and Davy. Helena stammered, how did we come to this conclusion? More importantly, who said I would be your master? The white bird said coldly, too cruel. Are you going to take everything from Spica and throw me away, you evil person? Helena replied miserably, when did I do that, and where did you learn to talk like that? The white bird cried, you only take advantage of me when it is convenient. The gold bird appeared and asked, hey master, why are you making the kid cry? Helena held her forehead, thinking, and honestly, I am not happy about this. What if that guy becomes even more obsessed? The white bird said, there is no one left as master in the Spica Marquis family. I have checked all the direct lines. Helena asked, what are the criteria for choosing a master? The birds replied, they have to be kind. They should also have some pride in themselves. Depends. The gold bird advised, master, think carefully. This is good for you too. If you take us in, even a weakling like you can use my power more effectively. Helena spoke, everything is happening too fast, and I have to worry about the crown prince. Looking at the three birds staring at her with pleading eyes. Helena held her head and said, do whatever you want. The birds shouted, you have made the right choice, master. But is it really okay to settle this so hastily? Soon it was afternoon. Helena walked along the corridor with Rodmine. She spoke, I think I should check out the auction house myself. Rodmine asked, will you be going anonymously? Helena replied, I am still deciding. There are too many troublesome problems that can't be solved. How can I excuse the jackals? And how can I evade the Emperor's surveillance? Just then Rodmine called out, Duke. Helena turned her head, wondering. Rodmine asked in a low voice, isn't this the corridor? Helena replied, yes, it is. What is wrong? She thought to herself, the corridor is deserted. I have a bad feeling about this. Figure appeared. The gold bird also flew out. An arrow appeared, but Helena quickly grabbed it before it pierced her heart. Helena was blown away. She thought, that was messy. Acrux lent me his power just in time. Judging by the direction it came from outside. Who is it? Rodmine rushed over and asked, are you all right, Duke? I will immediately. Helena thought, even though this place is usually deserted, it is still the entrance to the tax office. I can't let Rodmine use magic here. She spoke, forget about teleporting and go find the knights right now. Rodmine asked, but Duke, that power. Helena thought, I know this power has a very short lifespan. She urged, there is no time, go now. Rodmine rushed off, telling her, please do not get hurt, you have to pay me my salary. Helena smiled wryly, does he really feel like joking at a time like this? But thanks to that I feel a little less tense. The timing is too perfect. She remembered asking the three birds earlier, by the way, if I become your master, can I use the power of the treasure? The birds replied, I think you can. There will be a cost, but yes. You will also be able to handle the power of the treasure you already have much better. Acrux is extending the duration of his own power. For a short time I will be able to move like my sister. Very quickly, another foreign object approached. The attacker was still the blue-haired man from before. Helena rushed away swiftly. She realized there is no suitable place to hide. A voice reminded her, lady, I do not think we can face him. Run. Helena nodded, I want to do that too. Have to think carefully. At this rate, it won't be long before those arrows pierce me. If I get hit fatally on the first strike, Spica won't be able to do anything. And there is no way to predict when Rodmine will arrive. In this case, it is best if I attack first proactively. So Helena came out of hiding. The castle became strangely quiet. Helena thought, even if I hide I will have to show myself eventually. He is coming here. When did he get so close? To throw something like that with such speed from a distance. The power is truly incredible. But that won't work. A chair lay on the ground in the hallway. An attack with a chair. Good. His attention must have been distracted a bit. If I run now. Just then the gold bird spoke, lady, get out of the way. Because the man had raised his bow again. All three feathered arrows flew towards Helena at the same time. She realized, damn, I am too late. Just then a hand reached out. Jackal pulled her into his arms and said, I am not late this time. The arrows that seemed to hit their mark fell to the ground. Thanks to Jackal's timely appearance. Helena breathed a sigh of relief, realizing she had survived. Cows cursed silently on the tree. Is he just another nuisance, doing unnecessary things? I will make you regret interfering. The arrows came flying, but Jackal easily blocked them all. Cows was also extremely surprised that he had stopped everything. It seems there is no hope today. Just then Jackal asked Helena, are you hurt? Helena shook her head and replied, no sir, thank you very much. Jackal turned away and said, stay here, I will be right back. He can't have gone far. We have to chase after him right now. Helena hesitated, wait a moment. She grabbed Jackal's hand. Before Jackal's wondering face, Helena hesitated. What are you going to do? Jackal replied with a smile, I won't kill him, but punishment is necessary, is not it? Helena nodded, of course, as long as you do not kill him. Right, you have to bring him back alive. We need to gather evidence. Speaking of which, Helena's hands began to tremble. Jackal immediately pulled her into his arms. Helena asked in surprise, sir, what are you suddenly doing? Jackal replied, when I was young, I used to tremble when I heard thunder. And my mother would hold me like this. I do not understand it at all. But I think ordinary people find some comfort in this, right? The cold words of the cruel male lead. Jackal continued, it seems the Duke can't admit her weakness. Just like I did when I was young. Helena spoke, I have calmed down now, you can let go. Jackal released her, laughing, why did you regain your composure so quickly? What a shame, you made me want to spend more time with you. Helena immediately replied, I can do without it. She thought, even if I almost did not survive, I can't stand having to appear in such a miserable state, no matter how embarrassing it is. She spoke, anyway, thanks to you I was not hurt. Helena looked up. seeing Jackal's black hair gradually turning red. She wondered, your hair color. Jackal spoke, after what happened, it is best if you rest now. I will take care of the rest. Helena immediately replied, sir, it seems I am not the only one who needs comfort. Her face was serious. Jackal asked back, is it that obvious? Would a kind duke come to hug me otherwise? Helena asked him, is that not okay? Jackal was silent, not knowing how to answer. Helena thought, it has been a while since I have been able to use Acrox's power. If the Jackal had not arrived in time, my life would have been in danger. Thinking this, she raised her hand, embraced Jackal tightly, then spoke, I do not know much about fighting, but I understand that you risked a lot to save me. Feel relieved. The hands behind Helena were also trembling. Jackal said, for someone who does not know much about fighting, you fight quite well. This is the first time I have seen someone use a chair as a weapon. Helena nodded. Yeah, so please be gentle with me. Jackal laughed, really. I can't stand it. I feel so peaceful after hugging the kind duke. Helena asked back, isn't it wonderful? Many scholars have discovered that hugs help stabilize a person's emotions. Jackal asked in a low voice, does it really have to go to this extreme to make the duke uneasy? Helena cursed silently. Why does a simple human hug suddenly sound like a terrible conspiracy? She noticed his hair color had returned. Jackal held out his hand and said, I came as a servant, but maybe someone saw me running when the magic wore off. Helena asked worriedly, is that okay? Jackal replied, it will be fine. Thanks to this, I saved your life. Even for the attacker, this must be a good thing. Didn't he avoid being torn limb from limb? Helena trembled as she looked at his terrifying expression. She tried to calm herself and said, now that I think about it, you could not chase after the attacker because of me. My assistant will arrive soon along with the knights, and I will order an investigation. Jackal spoke, oh, that won't be necessary. I already know the culprit. Helena wondered, you know who shot the arrow at me? The two birds appeared and replied, I know it. It was cows, I swear. That bastard cows dared to target Miss Acrox. He is no longer my brother. Get rid of him. Helena thought, if it is cows, then it is royalty, right? So this means that. Jackal spoke, House Cows, the Emperor's archer. That is the power of the Cows family's treasure. It was that ability that targeted the Duke. This must be the first time you have seen it. It means that if the Duke did not have the constellation treasure, she would have died here already. Helena was silent, thinking. Since he used his ability openly in the palace, he would not let this go just because of one failure. And if I am attacked again? Just then Jackal spoke, that is why, Duke. How about I always stay by your side? Helena asked back blankly, what? Jackal replied with a smile, I mean, I will personally be your escort. Helena was dumbfounded and asked again, what are you talking about? You are the crown prince. That is absurd. The crown prince becomes the duke's escort. Forget this nonsense. What about your duties? Jackal replied, the duke's life is in danger. How can politics be of equal importance? Helena asked back, of course, it is a big deal, is not it? I appreciate your concern for me, but you should consider your position. Just then Helena remembered. I am annoyed that what he is saying is ridiculous. Isn't he aware of his own position? Why is he doing this for me? Jackal suddenly spoke, Duke, I am not your enemy. Sometimes I feel like you are prejudiced against me. I know my reputation is not good, but you make me feel as if you are very afraid of me. Helena did not expect him to see through it. She spoke, yes, that is right. I appreciate you saving my life, but I would not dare appoint you as my escort, your highness. Jackal then said, Cows's arrow. Someone at my level can deflect it without causing any harm. Helena replied, but the Duke's knights are also excellent. Jackal asked her again, would it be okay if you lost an arm? Helena stubbornly replied, I also have a treasure. Jackal replied, it seems you can't use it indefinitely. Helena frowned, I do not even want to see your face after work. Jackal laughed, isn't that a little harsh? You are my assistant and we work together on national issues anyway, so there is no problem with that. The problem is the time after that. I swear I won't do anything to harm you. Helena wondered, so why is he doing this for me? She spoke, if you also swear to keep secret everything you learn and everything you see during the process of escorting me. Jackal held out his hand and asked, how did you know I like mysterious women? Helena shook his hand and reminded him, just do not forget your oath. This will be a choice that you will never regret. There are two parts to the reason why Helena accepted the Jackal's offer. First, Roadmine, who is unregistered as a mage, cannot be used as an escort. Second, this is an enemy she cannot defeat even with the help of Acrox. The only one who can resolve this situation is the Jackal. Maybe Rain can do it too, but she can't ask a royal knight to protect her from the Emperor. The two birds said Cows's ability, the archer, allows him to shoot arrows anywhere he wants, but that is not all. Anything he can hold or throw can become an arrow. He can even use shadows. He can also blend into the shadows, allowing him to attack from within. Helena thought, that is an ability specialized in assassination. In the original story, he must have been an early death character. The Emperor, like any classic villain, has people who hold dangerous treasures as his subordinates. Among them, the one I am most wary of is Viscount Fomalhaut, who possesses the treasure of Pisces and has the ability to brainwash others. Fortunately, the legacy of Pisces somehow fell into my hands, so there is nothing to worry about. The gold bird asked, Lady, why are you hesitating like this? Shouldn't we confront the enemy immediately? It is war, Helena replied. Calm down, I won't sit still either. The gold bird cried out, if we do not have evidence, then we have to create it. If we search more, we will find clues. Helena reminded, please calm down, family treasure. I am wondering why you are called Leo, but that dignity really suits a lion. I have already said I have my own plans too. Instead, can you see this? The sword was placed in front of the three birds. The gold bird recognized it. Helena wondered. Pisces, the black bird said, among us, we call the youngest member by that name. Helena asked again, so this is the Fomalhaut family's treasure? Pisces, right? The black bird nodded, but this is strange. The energy is very weak. Even if it is sleeping. The three birds put their heads together to look. Helena spoke, it seems I do not have a chance to see Fomalhaut's soul. But it is good that it won't be used for something dangerous. She asked the birds, have the masters of the zodiac treasures ever fought? White bird replied, but what happened to that girl is completely different. I won't let cows get away with this. Helena thought to herself, no matter what, my abilities are limited. The night is dangerous, they say they can hide in the darkness. Just then someone knocked on the door. Your Grace, it is me. Helena nodded for them to enter. The person who entered startled her. Jackal walked in with his arm around Rodmine, smiling and saying, I saw him guarding the door. He said he was the Duke's assistant. Rodmine shouted in a panic, save me, Duke. Helena thought to herself, this is not the first time my assistant and that man have met, but he is brazenly pretending to know nothing at all. Jackal asked again, isn't it unusual to see someone who is not a knight guarding the door? Helena replied with a smile, yes, he is a dedicated assistant, isn't that right, Rodman? Rodmine pushed up his glasses and replied, of course. The two of them then exchanged a few pieces of information through eye contact. The truth was that Rodman had come to the door to cast a spell to protect Helena's bedroom and office. Helena spoke up, sir. Please leave my poor assistant alone and come here. Jackal asked with a smile, it seems you trust him. Now that I think about it, he has always been by her side, Helena retorted. He is my assistant, is not that natural? Jackal spoke up, so, let us start our discussion now, Duke. Helena gestured, Rodman, you may leave. Jackal said with satisfaction, now we are finally alone. Helena reminded him, please refrain from saying things that could cause misunderstandings in my office. Jackal said, I hope you understand, because the Duke's knights are guarding the door. There are more scents than usual. Helena wondered, scents. Come to think of it. He shook off the spot Rodman touched earlier, did not he? She spoke up, sir, it seems you can sense people's scents. Jackal wondered, how did you figure that out? Helena was startled, is that true? Jackal replied, but it is a little deeper than that. My sensitivity does not just stop at recognizing people's scents, it is extremely heightened. That is why I am disgusted by people's smells, and it is not just my sense of smell. Just touching someone makes me feel like I want to tear my skin off. Although I have gone through training and learned to endure this kind of contact, things are still uncomfortable for me except for you, Duke. I mean, you are the only exception. Your scent, your touch, they do not bother me. Should I be more direct, this is the first time in my life. Because you are the only one I want to have you. You are the only person in the world who makes me feel comfortable. Helena froze, wondering what does this mean? In the original story, nothing like this ever happened, or rather, I did not know about it. Originally, Helena was just a side character who was jealous of her sister and tried to harm her. She should not have had any positive relationships with the main character. The only difference is that I have been reborn. Thinking this, she spoke up, Your Highness, when you say you are extremely sensitive, how does that manifest specifically? Jackal replied, when I focus, I can see the dust stuck between the grooves of the wooden table. From here, I can hear every footstep on the first floor, and I can smell every scent that makes me nauseous. Especially perfumes. They linger in the air for too long, exhausting me. When I touch you, Duke, I feel like a normal person, isn't that amazing? Helena thought to herself, if it is a curse. She spoke up, I understand, I will keep that in mind, Jackal asked. Shouldn't you pity me now, your reaction is so cold. Helena responded, how dare I show pity to your majesty? One should not easily pity another person's life. Jackal covered his mouth in surprise. This is the first time I have heard such words. Even if there were someone else like you in this world, would they say such things to me? Helena spoke up, suddenly I do not know, what are you trying to say? Jackal replied, "Consider me your beauty. Now I am sure. You are the only one who can say that to me. I was so afraid of losing you that I abandoned everything to come and protect you. Consider me a handsome man, okay?" Helena sighed inwardly. I have faced such attempts many times before. In the royal palace, where my life was constantly in danger, my false identity was extremely important, however. He did not hesitate to abandon it and come to us. Perhaps because I recognized that he was very sincere in his feelings. At this moment Jackal spoke up, "No matter what, I want you to remember this. You are the first person I have ever talked to about this terrible curse. And you are the first person I have ever said is the only one in my world. Please understand how important this is. You can control me or make me completely submit to you.